capacity is immense. In standard mode, it can effortlessly carry a fully equipped special police team of 15 or over 20 tons of rescue supplies. Such extraordinary carrying capacity is truly unparalleled in the entire realm of light and medium helicopters, whether it be the audience in the live broadcast room or the on-site attendees. Including Jin Yong, Duan Da, and Huang Bo, upon hearing this seemingly fantastical data, they could not help but hold their breath. If what Yi Bai claimed were indeed true, then this helicopter would undoubtedly be a strategic asset of the highest caliber. Without further ado, Yi Bai nodded to Sun Jishui beside him. Reveal it. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Sun Jishui gave a vigorous tug, and the massive tricolor cover fell away, unveiling the true form of the super invincible Bumblebee. However, at the moment of revelation, the venue fell into a profound silence. What on earth am I seeing? Is that a van? Apologies, I couldn't help it. This is just too tacky. You dare to call this a Bumblebee? It looks more like a Wuling Hongguang driven by Bumblebee's grandfather. I'm dying of laughter. The exterior is indeed yellow, but isn't it just a van with a helicopter rotor awkwardly attached? Look underneath. There are 4 massive tires. There's not even a landing gear. Are we sure this thing can fly? I declare this the ugliest creation of the main designer's career. No contest. The super invincible Fat Bumblebee is simply a van with wings. On site, Jin Yang's expression turned pale. Gazing at the yellow, boxy, and rather kitschy flying van, he trembled. His lips quivering, yet he dared not express his discontent. Boss Yi, we, the Huadu police, have invested 10 million, and you present us with this? Yi Bai, observing the myriad expressions of the crowd, remained unfazed. Secretary Jin, there's no need to rush. One cannot judge a book by its cover, nor the sea by a mere dip. Although this vehicle, this helicopter, may appear rather unsightly, its performance is genuinely remarkable. If you doubt me, allow me to demonstrate live. Perhaps you will come to accept it. Chapter 110. Which helicopter is catapult launched? Alright, since Boss Yi has spoken, I must take a closer look. Jin Yong replied, his mood rather grim. Yi Bai said nothing further and directly opened the cockpit door, sitting down. Amidst the complex gazes of the crowd, he adeptly started the engine. However, contrary to expectations, the anticipated deafening roar of the rotor did not materialize. Instead, a sound akin to a mild electric current, reminiscent of an electric car, starting up, filled the air. Then, to everyone's astonishment, this super invincible Bumblebee smoothly rolled forward on its 4 enormous tires, just like an ordinary car, across the tarmac. It even signaled with its turn light, deftly completing a circle on the spacious apron. The viewers in the live broadcast could no longer contain their laughter. This is definitive proof. It's a van modified beyond recognition. Boss, you aren't even pretending anymore. This is absurd. I've never seen a helicopter that uses turn signals. You are truly a talent. If this thing were to hit the road, traffic officers would be utterly baffled. Is it a motor vehicle or an aircraft? Bringing the van to a halt at the center of the tarmac, Yi Bai addressed the crowd through the onboard speaker. I know many of you think it looks ugly and ridiculous, but consider this. In an emergency, what does a traditional helicopter require to take off? First, the pilot must be in position, then start the engine and wait for the rotor to slowly accelerate until it achieves sufficient lift to ascend. This entire process, even when expedited, takes several seconds, if not minutes. For missions like fire rescue or counterterrorism, every second could mean the difference between life and death. But now, things have changed. I have equipped it with a brand new electromagnetic catapult system. No waiting, no acceleration. Just press this button, and it can take off from a standstill. As his words fell, Yi Bai pressed a bright red button at the center of the control panel. Virum. An unimaginably powerful surge of energy erupted from beneath the van's chassis, accompanied by a thunderous roar. That seemingly cumbersome super invincible Bumblebee shot straight up into the sky, ascending dozens of meters in less than a second, leaving the audience completely stunned. Good heavens! The entire crowd, including Jin Yong, Huang Bo, and millions of viewers in the live stream, instinctively exclaimed in astonishment, their mouths agape, mesmerized by this miraculous spectacle. Yet, what shocked them even more was yet to come. When their gaze shifted from the hovering Bumblebee in the sky back to the ground, they were horrified to discover that the helicopter had actually separated into 2 parts. The base, equipped with 4 large tires and resembling a car chassis, remained quietly on the ground, while the upper 3/4, comprising the cockpit, fuselage, and rotor, had detached and soared into the air. At that moment, realization dawned upon them. The ugly, wheeled van chassis below was not part of the fuselage at all. Its purpose was twofold: to facilitate rapid ground maneuvering and deployment of the helicopter, and to serve as a vertical electromagnetic launching platform. This technology was not merely advanced. It was revolutionary. After a brief moment of stunned silence, the live stream erupted into chaos. What am I seeing? Is this a hallucination? It's truly electromagnetic catapulting. Vertical takeoff. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I must repeat it 3 times. What kind of black technology is this? To my knowledge, only a few of the latest nuclear-powered aircraft carriers possess electromagnetic launch technology. That's different. Those are catapulted carrier-based fighters. This is a helicopter. It's stationary, vertical, catapulted. The level of difficulty is not even comparable. This is unique in the world. Boss, I take back what I said about it being ugly. This is no flying van. It's clearly a UFO dressed in a van's exterior. Ding, shock value 1333. Ding, shock value 2333. In Yi Bai's mind, the system's notification sounds surged like a tide, making his smile even more radiant. Ladies and gentlemen, the takeoff was merely an appetizer. High above, Yi Bai's voice echoed through the speaker. Next, I will showcase its unparalleled maneuverability. It can perform actions you wouldn't even dream of. As soon as he finished speaking, the hovering bumblebee sprang into action. Rather than gently accelerating like a conventional helicopter, it surged forward with a sudden burst of speed. In an instant, it reached an astonishing velocity. Then, amidst the gasps of the crowd, it executed an abrupt stop that defied the laws of physics. The massive body remained perfectly still in midair. Whoosh, whoosh. The vector nozzles on either side of the fuselage unleashed jets of white, high-pressure airflow. The bumblebee's body abruptly shifted laterally, darting several dozen meters to the left, followed by a jet-powered maneuver that executed a graceful drift to the right. But that was not the end. Yi Bai seemed to revel in the thrill, maneuvering the bumblebee to perform a dazzling array of maneuvers. First, it executed a 3-point jump throw, then it transitioned into a dance number. Little Black, you've revealed your chicken feet. Haha. In the live broadcast room, the audience erupted into laughter at the scene unfolding before them, with the comments section flooded with various humorous references. Just when everyone thought the spectacle had reached its peak, the bumblebee helicopter executed a rapid ascent, followed by a maneuver that left everyone speechless. It traced an astonishing figure-8 pattern in midair, a feat that went unnoticed by some spectators. But those well-versed in aviation, true enthusiasts and professionals, collectively gasped in astonishment. My heavens, is that lateral figure-8 flight? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Even a dragonfly wouldn't dare to fly like that. What kind of lateral stress and torque must such a large helicopter endure to perform such a maneuver? How does its structure and rotor system withstand it? This transcends mere agility. It's a blatant defiance of Newtonian principles. Incredible. On the ground, Captain Duando was utterly dumbfounded, frozen in disbelief. He understood better than anyone the significance of the actions displayed by Yi Bai, not to mention the outdated G9. Even their most advanced G20 would be incapable of such outrageous maneuvers. Chapter 111. Progress 710. The grown-up Yi Bai? Captain Duan could no longer contain his excitement and rushed to Jin Yang, gripping his hand tightly. Secretary Jin, thank you. Thank you so much. This helicopter is truly remarkable. Jin Yang nodded, feeling somewhat embarrassed. While the performance was extraordinary, the appearance was quite unappealing. Driving such a flying breadbox into a mission felt rather off. At that moment, Yi Bai jumped down from the cockpit, grinning as he asked, "So, can we proceed with the acceptance now?" "Absolutely. Without a doubt." Jin Yang quickly regained his composure, nodding repeatedly and smiling. "Rest assured, Mr. Yi, we will promptly transfer the remaining 7 million. Nearby, Huang Bo sighed in lament. What a pity. Such an excellent helicopter. Yet we at Tianjin Fire Department cannot make use of it." Yi Bai, noticing Huang's despondent demeanor, chuckled and said, "Director Huang, don't be disheartened. Your journey from Tianjin alone reflects your sincerity. To express my gratitude for your support, I will personally sponsor your fire department with 1,000 rocket-propelled extinguishers. Consider it a trial to see how effective they are." Huang Bo was taken aback, hastily waving his hands. "Oh no, Mr. Yi, you shouldn't feel obligated." "It's no trouble at all," Yi Bai replied nonchalantly. Huang Bo expressed his gratitude. "Thank you immensely. On behalf of all the personnel at Tianjin Fire Department, I appreciate your generosity." After a moment's thought, he added, "By the way, Mr. Yi, could we also procure a few of those turbocharged firefighting vehicles?" Yi Bai shook his head. "That is not possible. They have been requisitioned by the military." "Military? Is it the Southern Military District?" Huang Bo asked, surprised. "Understood. I will report this to my superiors." Seeing the opportunity, Yi Bai continued, "In fact, Director Huang, You could also seek my assistance in modifying fire trucks, if feasible. I hope you can help me establish a similar automotive repair facility in the capital to facilitate my subsequent business endeavors. Absolutely. I'll take care of it. No worries. Huang Bo pledged confidently. I'm familiar with the land in the capital. Within a week, I promise everything will be arranged. As the Tianjin Fire Department prepared to leave with their bounty, Jin Yang chimed in, Director Huang, since you've traveled so far, it wouldn't be appropriate for you to return empty-handed. To showcase our hospitality, we can lend you the Bumblebee for a few days to experience its capabilities. Huang Bo immediately seized the opportunity. Secretary Jin, since you've offered, may I purchase it outright? We are willing to pay double the price. Yi Bai glanced at Jin Yang. That depends on Secretary Jin's decision. Jin Yang feigned a pained expression, sighing, to be honest, Director Huang, our city has recently invested heavily in vehicle modifications to enhance traffic and emergency response capabilities, leading to significant fiscal strain. We truly need to recoup some funds. Otherwise, our planned infrastructure projects and urban renewal efforts will face challenges. His heartfelt words resonated with Huang Bo, who quickly understood the underlying message. I see. I understand. Huang Bo promptly pulled out his phone to contact the Tianjin Finance Bureau. Within 30 minutes, a staggering sum of 20 million was transferred to the public account of Huadu. Observing the transfer notification on his phone, Jin Yang and Yi Bai couldn't help but marvel at the financial strength of a first-tier city. As 20 million was dispatched without hesitation. Before long, Yi Bai also received the remaining payment from Jin Yang, amounting to a total of 12 million. With his previous savings, his cash on hand soared to an astonishing 37 million. However, compared to this substantial cash influx, the shock value had only garnered a meager 4 million, a mere fraction of what he had anticipated. After bidding farewell to the satisfied Huang Bo and his team, Yi Bai returned to the Yunshao Automotive Repair Factory. Ding. 2 D-Class vehicles, the Super Invincible Bumblebee, have been submitted, counting as 2 E-Class vehicles in progress. System Upgrade Task Progress, 710. Congratulations to the host for acquiring a new skill, Traditional Chinese Medical Expertise. Traditional Chinese Medical Expertise. The host can accurately diagnose most common ailments and potential health issues through observation, listening, inquiry, and palpation. Additionally, the host will master all human acupoints and possess advanced skills in massage, manipulation, and chiropractic techniques. Note, this skill does not include acupuncture. Traditional Chinese medical expertise? This skill seems quite practical. Yi Bai stroked his chin, finding it rather appealing. Just then, the office door swung open. Sun Ling entered, rubbing her neck while stretching her sore shoulders. Compared to her usual vibrant and energetic self, she appeared pale with faint dark circles under her eyes, radiating exhaustion. Seeing her in such a state, Yi Bai felt a twinge of concern and smiled, beckoning her over. Xiao Ling, come here. Huh, boss, is something the matter? Sun Ling asked weakly. You look utterly worn out. Your neck and shoulders must be severely strained. Come lie down, and I'll give you a massage and realign your bones. I guarantee you'll feel revitalized, Yi Bai said calmly. A massage? Realignment? Sun Ling's eyes widened in surprise. Boss, you can do that too? First, you modify cars and helicopters, and now you're a traditional Chinese medicine practitioner? She thought, wondering if he was merely seeking an excuse to take advantage of her. As that thought crossed her mind, her cheeks flushed slightly. However, she quickly reminded herself that Yi Bai was not only her boss, but also her father's savior, and his kindness towards her family was immeasurable. Even if he made unreasonable requests, it seemed impossible for her to refuse. Resolving herself, she approached the couch and lay down. Boss, please be gentle. Don't worry. It'll be quick, Yi Bai assured her, placing his hands on her stiff neck and shoulders. In the next moment, his expression sharpened as he exerted force. Crack, crack. The sound of bones popping resonated sharply in the quiet office. Sun Ling was suddenly overwhelmed by an indescribable, excruciating pain accompanied by exquisite relief, which radiated from the back of her neck throughout her entire body. Unable to contain herself, she let out a piercing scream. At that moment, the office door was pushed open slightly. Just as her uncle, Xiao Yunshan, reached the doorway, he heard Sun Ling's anguished cry emanating from within. Peering through the crack in the door, he saw Sun Ling sprawled on the couch, while his beloved nephew, Yi Bai, was perched on her back. In this intimate setting, the scene and the sound led Xiao Yunshan to conjure an entire narrative in his mind. A smile, reminiscent of a proud aunt, crept onto his face. It seemed his little nephew was on the cusp of adulthood. With this thought, he chose not to intrude, but instead carefully closed the office door. He then fetched a chair and sat down decisively at the entrance, listening attentively to the unfolding events within. Chapter 112. Yi Nantian. Is my son Yi Bai a prodigy? Sitting upright at the door, Xiao Yunshan hummed a little tune while straining to hear the commotion inside. Seconds turned into minutes. Glancing at his watch, he noted that nearly half an hour had passed, yet the battle inside showed no signs of concluding. TSK, TSK, TSK. Xiao Yunshan clicked his tongue, reflecting on the stamina of today's youth, which was truly enviable. While he was lost in thought, his phone vibrated in his pocket. Upon checking, he saw it was his brother-in-law, Yi Nantian, calling. Hello, Nantian, what's the matter? Xiao Yunshan whispered, wary of disturbing the good fortune unfolding inside. On the other end, Yi Nantian's tone was anything but amicable. Brother-in-law, how's the inquiry I asked you about going? Where did that 1 million come from? And why was it deposited into the company account marked as dividends? Have you found out anything? Didn't I already tell you? That money was earned by your son selling fire extinguishers. Xiao Yunshan replied, slightly annoyed. You really should pay more attention to your son. Of course. He's busy at the auto repair shop right now, so there's no rush. Just wait a moment. Wait. Yi Nantian's voice escalated in pitch. What kind of father waits for his son? Yi Bai is the younger generation, and you, his uncle, should be able to address this directly. What good would rushing in do? Xiao Yunshan frowned. If I barge in and disrupt the important matters of your family, I can only imagine my sister, your wife, would have my head. Important matters? Yi Nantian was taken aback, his mind buzzing as he grasped the implication of Xiao Yunshan's words. A wave of uncontainable anger surged within him. You little rascal, just because you made a few bucks. You think you can engage in such scandalous behavior in broad daylight at your father's auto repair shop? If you inherit a fortune, what will become of you? The more he pondered, the angrier he became, but he could only suppress his fury and said, Fine, let him continue. When he has done, have him call me immediately. I must give him a stern lecture, and you are not to defend him. Listening to his brother-in-law's vehement tone, Xiao Yunshan sighed helplessly. Why must you two make everything so serious? Honestly, after hanging up, he shook his head and resumed his duty as a vigilant guardian at the door. Inside the office, as the final pressure was applied, Yi Bai withdrew his hands with a sigh of relief. All done. Sun Ling slowly opened her eyes, gently sitting up from the couch and stretching her neck and shoulders. An unprecedented sense of relaxation washed over her, and the previous discomfort and stiffness faded away, replaced by a soothing sensation throughout her body. Her cheeks flushed, and her radiant eyes sparkled. She never imagined that her boss not only possessed the skills to modify various devices, but was also adept in the art of traditional Chinese massage. Thank you, Bai Gu. Sun Ling's voice trembled slightly. I feel so much better. I've never experienced such comfort before. Gazing at Yi Bai's handsome face, her heart swelled not only with gratitude, but also with an indescribable admiration. At that moment, the office door swung open. Xiao Yunshan peered in, first glancing at Sun Ling, whose cheeks were flushed and eyes dreamy, immediately donning an understanding smile. He then addressed her with remarkable courtesy. Little son, you've worked hard. Go have some water and take a good rest. He followed up with concern. Yi Bai hasn't he treated you poorly, has he? No. Sun Ling quickly waved her hands, recalling her earlier misunderstanding of Yi Bai. With her boss being so kind, how could she have misjudged him? Her face reddened further. Bai Gu is very good to me, she emphasized. That's wonderful. Xiao Yunshan nodded in satisfaction. Then, he pulled out his phone and directed the screen toward Yi Bai. Yi Bai, upon seeing the screen, froze in shock. There, glaring back at him, was the stern face of his father, Yi Nantian. His uncle had been video calling his dad all along. Uncle, you sly fox. Why didn't you warn me you were video chatting with my dad? Yi Bai exclaimed, bewildered. On the other end, Yi Nantian scoffed. Not giving you a heads up is for your own good, to prevent you from concocting some flourishing facade to deceive me. Through the camera, Yi Nantian swiftly surveyed the office behind Yi Bai, noting it was still in disarray, but had a bit more liveliness compared to before. As expected, nothing had changed. Now, can you explain the 1 million that was deposited into my account? Yi Nantian inquired coldly. Yi Bai chuckled and stepped closer to the camera, counting on his fingers, Dad. Do I really need to explain? It's the 90-10 profit sharing we agreed upon. I sold a total of 200,000 fire extinguishers, bringing in a revenue of 25.6 million. Additionally, I pre-sold another 200,000 units, receiving a prepayment of 9 million. That totals to, following his calculations, Yi Bai continued, based on your 1% share, your dividends amount to 3.46 million. I'll round it up for you. So let's say 500,000 plus the 500,000 you previously invested. That equals 1 million. Yi Nantian, hearing this, was utterly dumbfounded. How could Yi Bai's little factory possibly earn over 30 million from selling fire extinguishers? Is this real? Could it be that my son Yi Bai is a prodigy? Yi Nantian reminisced about Yi Bai's childhood, recalling the birthday gifts he had arranged for him, tools, cash, and art supplies, only for Yi Bai to accidentally reveal his aunt's intimate apparel. Throughout the years, Yi Bai had never given him a moment of peace nor displayed any signs of exceptional talent. How could he suddenly have come into his own? With no innate talent and unwilling to resort to harsh discipline, Yi Nantian had resorted to strict verbal guidance. However, he mused, my son, it is easy to conquer a kingdom, but difficult to maintain it. If all else fails, I will ensure you enjoy a life of luxury. But possessing skills and lacking them are two entirely different matters. Do not blame me for being harsh, my son. Thinking this, a shadow of sorrow crossed his face. Don't believe me? Yi Bai, noticing his father's expression shift from shock to seriousness, pulled out his own phone and opened his banking app, displaying his account balance for the camera. The long string of zeros on the screen eventually crystallized into a staggering figure, over 37 million. Yi Nantian gazed at the number, his pupils dilating momentarily, but then he erupted into hearty laughter. What are you laughing at? Yi Bai furrowed his brow, questioning him. I find your photo editing skills utterly laughable. Yi Nantian scoffed. I knew at a glance that it was fake. My son, think for a moment. If you truly earned that much money with your disposition, wouldn't you immediately invest in a larger, better, more luxurious auto repair shop? Would you still be conversing with me in this dilapidated place? You'd probably be reveling in a presidential suite at a 5-star hotel by now. Yi Bai was left speechless. This money was intended for establishing a factory in the capital aimed at grand endeavors. How had he become a mere hedonistic playboy in his father's eyes? A surge of anger coursed through him, and he could no longer be bothered to explain. He snatched the phone from Xiao Yunshan's hand and promptly ended the video call. Chapter 113. Taking on new business, renovating ambulances. Edited, thousands of miles away, in the Maldives, aboard a private jet in first class bound for the Caribbean. Yi Nantian stared at the phone screen, abruptly severed by his son, and sighed with frustration. To be honest, when he first saw that astonishing figure, there was a fleeting moment when he genuinely believed his son had finally come into his own, even catching a glimpse of the entrepreneurial spirit reminiscent of Le Boussier's rise from nothing. However, reason quickly triumphed over emotion. How could it be possible? A no-name fire extinguisher generating over 30 million in just a few days? That would be an international joke. Even a money printer couldn't match such speed. Shaking his head, he set the phone aside. At that moment, a waft of perfume enveloped him as a stunningly curvaceous woman, dressed in a breezy vacation dress, approached elegantly, holding 2 glasses of champagne. She handed one to Yi Nantian, softly calling out, darling. Upon hearing that term, Yi Nantian instinctively gasped, a wave of goosebumps cascading over him. Thoughts of his son vanished from his mind. Was his son important now? Not at all. What mattered now was the alluring woman before him. Yi Nantian quickly retrieved another phone from his briefcase, one designated for work, and swiftly composed a message to the core executives of his company. All matters of the group will be handled by my brother, the CEO Yi Bi, with full authority. Please refrain from disturbing me unless the sky is falling. After sending the message, he didn't even glance at the replies, tossing the work phone aside carelessly before wrapping his arms around his captivating wife, a grin reminiscent of a notorious monarch stretching across his face. Come, my dear. Let me admire your exquisite attire today. Yi Nantian teased. The elegant lady, Yi Bai's mother, placed a finger on Yi Nanshan's lips, playfully resisting. How annoying. Just as Yi Nantian was about to indulge further, the lady's face lit up with a radiant smile, and she inquired, darling, were you just speaking with our dear son? I haven't seen him in ages. I'd love to have a word with him. What is there to discuss with our son? Yi Nantian mischievously grinned at her. The lady lowered her head, her cheeks flushing with shyness. Well, maybe I'll check on him later. At that moment, the plane ascended into the stratosphere, causing inevitable turbulence in the cabin. In the auto repair shop, Yi Bai was still brooding over his father's remarks. He turned to his uncle. Uncle, you've betrayed me. You're no longer on my side. How could you assist my father in monitoring me? Speak up. How did he manage to win you over? Is our friendship so fragile? Not at all. Xiao Yunshan exclaimed, raising his hands in mock innocence. I swear on my conscience. When you and little son were celebrating love in there, I was out here facing your father's pressure, guarding the door for over half an hour. Celebrating love? Yi Bai was taken aback, confusion etched on his face. What celebration? That is absurd. Next to him, Sun Ling turned crimson upon hearing those words, hastily waving her hands, stammering. No, no. Uncle Xiao, You misunderstood. Boss was just giving me a massage. Massage? Xiao Yunshan's face broke into a knowing grin, his eyes glancing back and forth between Yi Bai and the blushing Sun Ling. I understand massages. Your uncle knows all about that, completely comprehensible. His knowing expression left Yi Bai and Sun Ling utterly speechless. They realized that no matter how much they tried to clarify, it would only fuel his vivid imagination, surrendering to the futility of explanation. Yi Bai sighed and rubbed his temples, shifting the topic. All right, enough of that. Uncle, why are you here today? Can't I come just to see my grown nephew? Xiao Yunshan teased lightly before adopting a serious demeanor. Moreover, I genuinely have a business opportunity for you. Business? Indeed. Just follow me and see. Skeptical but intrigued, Yi Bai accompanied Xiao Yunshan out of the office into the courtyard of the auto repair shop. There, in the open space, stood an ambulance that was in a deplorable state. The front end appeared as though it had been brutally smashed, the bumper twisted and the headlight shattered, looking utterly forlorn. Xiao Yunshan gestured toward the damaged vehicle, explaining, the driver, Yang Qingshui, is an emergency driver for the First People's Hospital and a good friend of mine. Earlier today, he received an urgent call to rescue a critical patient suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning. In a race against time, he activated the siren and ran 4 red lights. Unfortunately, at one intersection, a young child on a skateboard suddenly appeared. In an attempt to avoid the child, old Yang swerved sharply and slammed on the brakes. Fortunately, he managed to stop in time, but the front of the ambulance collided violently with the roadside guardrail, resulting in this wreck. Pointing to the dented front, Xiao Yunshan continued. Though he successfully delivered the patient to the hospital, the ambulance is now essentially totaled. Not only is the front damaged, but I also heard that the engine has some issues, stalling intermittently. So, I thought of you, the miracle worker. Why not bring the vehicle here to see if it can be repaired and perhaps upgraded? Yi Bai nodded thoughtfully, curious. But where is the driver? Yang Qingshui? Why isn't he here? Upon hearing this, Xiao Yunshan wore an exasperated expression, raising his hands in resignation. Where else would he be? He's at the hospital. Huh? Yi Bai was taken aback. The situation had been so urgent, running red lights and slamming brakes had frightened old Yang so much that it triggered his heart condition. The doctors advised him to rest in the hospital for a few days. Goodness! Yi Bai exclaimed upon hearing Xiao Yunshan's explanation. The rescuer ended up needing rescuing himself. What a turn of events. With that, Yi Bai approached the ambulance, circling it to closely examine the extent of the damage. I must first thoroughly examine the condition of this vehicle, conduct a comprehensive inspection, and then determine the specific modification plan. No problem. Xiao Yunshan immediately responded. Feel free to inspect it. Let me know what you need and what is lacking. Chapter 114. Sudden Incident. A fire erupts in the tallest building of Tianjing. Yi Bai gently placed his hand on the hood of the ambulance. Closing his eyes, he delved into his mind, activating the system's scanning function. Ding. Initiating scan of target vehicle. Ford the 5th 348 ambulance. Scanning. Scan results as follows. 1. The front structure is severely damaged. The front bumper beam is broken, and the radiator and cooling system are extensively damaged, rendering them inoperable. 2. The engine block exhibits fine cracks, posing a risk of oil leakage under high-load operation. It is prone to cylinder pulling and explosion. 3. The gearbox gears are severely worn, resulting in significant shifting jolts and low transmission efficiency. 4. The vehicle chassis has numerous rust spots. The suspension system is aging, with poor shock absorption, which is detrimental for transporting critically ill patients. Scan conclusion. The vehicle has reached the scrapping standard. Repairs are not recommended, and it should be sent directly to the recycling station, although modifications and upgrades are feasible. The issues identified by the system were far more severe than Xiao Yunshan had described. This vehicle was essentially a mere shell. However, for Yi Bai, this posed no issue. The system indicated that modifications were possible. Yi Bai opened his eyes and addressed the anxious Xiao Yunshan beside him. I've finished inspecting. This vehicle can be modified. Wonderful. Xiao Yunshan exclaimed joyfully. What kind of modifications does he desire? Yi Bai inquired. Xiao Yunshan pondered for a moment and replied. Old Yang isn't here at the moment, but he mentioned it over the phone before. After years of driving an ambulance, his greatest fear has always been traffic jams. Sometimes, when the hospital is just a few hundred meters ahead, being unable to get through is excruciating. Therefore, if possible, he hopes to never encounter traffic congestion again. Xiao Yunshan felt that his request was somewhat unrealistic. I know this wish is difficult to fulfill, but why not give it a try? What if you actually have a way? Never face traffic jams again. Yi Bai mused upon hearing this request. He deeply understood Yang Qingshui's desire. For an ambulance, time equates to life. Sometimes, just a few minutes can snatch a life from the jaws of death. Although this condition sounded fantastical, it was incredibly reasonable. I understand. Yi Bai nodded, already forming an audacious prototype in his mind. Let him come to collect the vehicle in 3 days. All right, Xiao Yinshan responded, thumping his chest with bravado. I'll cover the modification costs as a favor for my good friend. You just proceed with the best plan. Money is not an issue. After sending Xiao Yinshan off, Yi Bai immediately returned to his office, immersing himself once more in the experimental laboratory within his mind, preparing to research the specific modification plan. However, just as he was about to retrieve the three-dimensional model of the ambulance, he unexpectedly discovered that his system's shock value balance had inexplicably increased by over 10 million. What on earth is happening? Yi Bai was taken aback, completely unaware of any recent actions that could generate such a substantial shock value. This sum seemed to have appeared out of thin air, utterly unforeseen. He promptly picked up his phone and opened the Douyin app, eager to see if anything significant had occurred online related to him. Indeed, the moment he accessed the trending topics, a bright red topic labeled explosive caught his eye. Trending number 7, fire erupts in Tianjin's tallest building. Under this trending topic, the leading video thumbnail featured the super invincible fat bumblebee he had sold to Huang Bo just a few days prior. The thumbnail showcased the bumblebee, which had been ridiculed by countless netizens as a flying bread truck, hovering amidst thick smoke. The backdrop featured the rooftop of a burning skyscraper. It appeared that a serious fire incident had indeed occurred in Tianjin, and without a doubt, the over 10 million shock value was a result of the bumblebee's debut in this fire rescue. Rewinding time to a few hours earlier at the Tianjin Fire Brigade, when the bright yellow bumblebee was transported to the brigade's courtyard by a heavy-duty tow truck, along with 1,000 brand-new rocket fire extinguishers neatly stored, Huang Bo finally felt a long-held burden lift. With the equipment in hand, he now had the confidence to challenge anyone. However, before he could bask in his joy, the office door was suddenly pushed open from the outside. The top official of Tianjin, Secretary Li Yuwei, entered with a stern expression, accompanied by his secretary and several members of the disciplinary department. Huang Bo? Secretary Li's voice was low yet filled with fury as he slammed a document onto Huang Bo's desk. What an impressive display of authority. Without a word, you siphoned off 20 million from the treasury just to purchase this broken aircraft from Huadu? Li Yuwei pointed at the oddly shaped aircraft on the helipad outside, his anger boiling over. What immense power you wield. One might mistakenly think that the Tianjin Fire Department is your family business. I tell you, regardless of your position as director and the highest commander here, you absolutely cannot act with such unbridled authority. Faced with the secretary's thunderous wrath, Huang Bo quickly stood up, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Secretary Li, please allow me to explain. I did this as a special case, and there is a reason behind it. The key is that my actions are aimed at preserving our leading position in national fire safety. This transaction is indeed a matter of life and death for us. A matter of life and death. Secretary Li coldly laughed, disappointment evident in his gaze. Keep spinning your tail. I want to see what else you can concoct. You need not explain further. This afternoon, I will convene a citywide cadre meeting, where I will severely criticize your disorganized, undisciplined, and arbitrary actions. Prepare to face disciplinary action. Upon hearing this, Huang Bo felt an icy chill spread through him. He had no words to express his grievances. Without tangible results, any explanations would merely be perceived as excuses by the leadership. The higher the rank, the heavier the oppression. However, there was no recourse. He could only bear the pressure and see this matter through. After all, with a clear conscience, he had no fear of scrutiny. What Huang Bo had not anticipated was that the opportunity to prove himself would arrive so swiftly and forcefully. At that moment, the fire alarm suddenly blared. Chapter 115. No joking around. My helicopter can do backflips. A staff member from the communications department rushed in, his face pale, without even knocking on the door. Report. Team Leader Huang. Report, Secretary Li. A major incident has occurred. A fire has suddenly broken out on the 64th floor of the Jinwei building. The flames are intense and completely out of control. This news struck the office like a thunderbolt, leaving everyone momentarily stunned. The Jinwei building. That was a landmark structure in Tianjin, soaring over 300 meters tall. Our fire truck S-ladder can only reach about 30 floors. Firefighters cannot access the upper levels in a short time. We have no conventional equipment capable of reaching a fire on the 64th floor. What about the rooftop? Isn't there a helipad there? Li Yuwei urgently inquired. The helipad remains intact. Yet the passage from the top floor to the 64th level has been entirely obstructed by the raging inferno and thick smoke. Although our dispatched helicopter can deliver rescue personnel to the rooftop, the conventional firefighting equipment they carry is utterly inadequate to extinguish such a massive blaze in a short span of time. Most critically, the voice of the officer has begun to tremble with despair. According to the alarm information, at least 10 individuals are still trapped within the fire on the 64th floor. Their lives are in imminent danger. Upon hearing this, Huang Bo felt a wave of dizziness wash over him, his heart racing in alarm. In Tianjin, a city renowned for its highest level of fire safety, the occurrence of such a catastrophic fire is simply unacceptable, a colossal dereliction of duty. To make matters worse, there are still civilians trapped, their lives hanging by a thread. He understood all too well that if this situation were mishandled, not only his position as director would be jeopardized, but the futures of all relevant leaders present would be irrevocably compromised. Secretary Li Yue was equally bewildered. The 64th floor, unreachable by fire trucks, with internal passages blocked and helicopter landings futile. This was an impasse. How could it have escalated to such a dire state? Have the causes of the fire been identified? He asked, frustration evident in his tone. The cause is still under investigation. We have exhausted every available means. The officer responded in despair. Li Yue's complexion turned ashen, and he slumped back in his chair, murmuring, "It's over for us. Prepare to draft resignation letters and take responsibility." No. At this moment of utter despair, a glimmer of hope ignited in Huang Bo's eyes. Secretary Li, we have not yet lost. We have one last resort. We still possess that firefighting helicopter we procured from Huadu, along with 1,000 rocket launcher extinguishers. Without allowing Li Yue a moment to respond, he seized the walkie-talkie and shouted with all his might. Dazai, Xiaozue, immediately arm yourselves with all the rocket launcher extinguishers. Get that big bumblebee ready for takeoff. All helicopter pilots, assemble at the helipad at once. Prepare to fight the fire. Huang Bo, do not be reckless. Li Yue interjected in alarm. We are not without helicopters. Sending an ordinary helicopter will be futile. Sending this bizarre aircraft will be no different. Huang Bo turned to him, eyes ablaze with determination, and, to the astonishment of all present, dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Secretary Li, please trust me this once. Grant me this opportunity. Let me try. Witnessing Huang Bo kneel, wagering his future and fate, Li Yue's heart trembled. He closed his eyes, sighed deeply, and upon reopening them, resolved, very well, I agree. Huang Bo, remember, the fates of both of us now rest upon your shoulders. With Li Yue's consent, Huang Bo sprang to his feet. Racing towards the helipad with Dazui and Xiaozue in tow, the trio swiftly boarded the super-invincible Bumblebee. Shortly thereafter, the most experienced ace pilot from the team, Chen Ji, arrived, jogging to the cockpit. However, upon seeing the control panel, he froze in disbelief. Huang, what kind of aircraft is this? Confusion etched on his face. He added, I've piloted the G9G, but I've never seen it modified like this. The control panel is entirely different. Forget the details. Huang Bo thrust a slim booklet into his hands, urgency in his voice. This is the manual provided by Boss Yi. You must read it quickly. There's no time. Chen Ji accepted the manual and flipped through it rapidly. After only a few glances, his eyes widened in astonishment, his expression one of incredulity. What is this manual saying? The left joystick controls direction, the right joystick manages altitude and perspective, the L1 key activates jets, and the R2 key locks on. This isn't a helicopter operations manual. It's clearly a gaming control guide. What bewildered him further was a note on the last page, stating, if operated correctly, it theoretically allows for aerial hovering, rapid directional changes, and even backflips among other advanced evasive maneuvers. Backflips? Performing backflips in a helicopter? Chen Ji felt as though his worldview had been profoundly shaken. Meanwhile, Dazui and Xiaozue hurriedly loaded box after box of rocket launchers into the spacious cabin. Chen Ji, his eyelids twitching, exclaimed, Huang, what are you doing? We're going to extinguish a fire, not wage war. Shouldn't we be bringing extinguishers instead of all these rocket launchers? These are extinguishers. Huang Bo shouted back. No time for explanations. Start up. Take off. Recognizing the urgency of the situation, Chen Ji gritted his teeth and took his seat in the cockpit, initiating the peculiar flying vehicle following the instructions in the manual. With a deep rumble, the Bumblebee soared into the sky, propelled by the electromagnetic catapult from the ground base, racing towards the city center. Soon, the blazing Tianwei building came into view. As they approached, the terrifying intensity of the fire became palpable. The 64th floor of the entire building erupted with dark red flames, spewing from shattered windows, the glass facade crackling ominously. Thick black smoke billowed, creating a towering column that obscured the sky. More alarmingly, massive, glowing shards of glass occasionally plummeted from above. At this height, those fragments could easily pierce through pedestrians or vehicles below. In the few windows of the 64th floor that had not yet been consumed by flames, several shadowy figures frantically waved their arms. Time was of the essence, and the mission was critical. Meanwhile, on the ground beneath Tianwei Building, a long cordon had already been established. Countless citizens and media reporters had gathered, with several mainstream media journalists broadcasting live. Chapter 116, The Helicopter Wing Breaks. Imminent crash? In the live broadcast room, innumerable viewers gazed at the horrifying scene, sighing collectively. It's over. This is the end. At 64 stories high, the ladder trucks cannot reach. And with the fires so intense, those inside may be beyond rescue. Alas, high-rise fires are a global dilemma. Worldwide, there are scarcely any effective solutions for situations like this. To them, this appeared to be an insurmountable deadlock. The local crowd, kept at bay by the cordon, lamented in despair. How could it come to this? Our Tianjin firefighting service is a national emblem. Today, that emblem is shattered. Indeed, this is an unforeseen disaster. How could a landmark building catch such a massive fire? Just as despair enveloped everyone, a roar of engines echoed from afar. An entirely black helicopter, oddly resembling a yellow bread van, abruptly entered everyone's line of sight. Another helicopter? What good will it do? Yes, the previous ones have already tried. Besides getting people to the rooftop, they were utterly useless. Sending this one will be equally futile. Whether among the crowd or the online viewers, many believe this was yet another futile attempt. However, the next moment, an unexpected turn of events unfolded, leaving everyone astounded. The yellow flying bread van deftly hovered at the height of the 64th floor. Suddenly, its cabin door swung open, and streaks of white smoke shot forth like arrows from a bow, accurately targeting the burning windows. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The sounds of piercing air filled the atmosphere. What was that? Was it an extinguishing projectile? Why did it trail white smoke? It resembled a dry ice extinguisher. Yet I had never witnessed one capable of such long-range fire suppression. The journalists on site quickly grasped the situation, and an experienced female reporter shouted to the cameraman beside her, "Quick, zoom in on that helicopter. Let's see what they are using." The cameraman immediately adjusted the lens to the maximum. Through the high-definition capture, a breathtaking scene unfolded before everyone's eyes. At the helicopter's cabin door, two firefighters were hoisting rocket launchers. They were loading objects resembling rockets into the launchers and, without hesitation, pulling the triggers to fire them at the blaze. My heavens! The female reporter gasped in astonishment. They were using rocket launchers to extinguish the fire. Is there really such a thing as a rocket launcher for firefighting? In that moment, both the local residents of Tianjin, who had never seen such a spectacle, and the billions of viewers glued to their screens were utterly astonished. Using a rocket launcher to combat a fire? Such a hardcore and outrageous maneuver exists in this world. Boom, boom, boom. Each dry ice rocket accurately hit its mark, detonating at the windows and transforming into massive clouds of white, low-temperature mist, forcefully suppressing and engulfing the once rampant flames. Although this was but a drop in the bucket for the vast conflagration consuming the 64th floor, the previously uncontrollable fire, which had been spreading relentlessly, was indeed being subdued by this barrage of firepower. Could there be a turning point? After a brief shock, the scene erupted into thunderous applause. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. This is the true essence of Tianjin firefighting. Using a rocket launcher to extinguish a fire? Who could have ever imagined such a thing? Truly remarkable. I always said it. Tianjin firefighters are forever trustworthy. Look at that. This is our Tianjin firefighting team. Amazing. I was supposed to go diving at Hohai this afternoon, but not anymore. Today, I will be right here, singing the praises of our Tianjin firefighters. However, the crisis at the fire scene was not yet fully resolved. While the rocket launcher extinguishers had temporarily suppressed the flames, the intense heat had rendered the glass curtain walls on the 64th floor extremely fragile. The ability to use rocket launchers was due to most of the glass already being shattered, allowing them to shoot the dry ice rounds through the cracks. Yet now, as the fire raged on, large, precariously hanging sections of glass began to detach en masse. Look up. The glass is about to fall. Someone screamed in terror. A massive piece of glass, several square meters in size, plummeted from over 200 meters high. If it crashed down, the fire trucks and private vehicles parked below would undoubtedly be reduced to scrap metal. More critically, there were firefighters and police officers carrying out their duties below. The consequences would be unimaginable. Inside the cockpit of the Bumblebee, Chunji's pupils dilated sharply. Without hesitation, He shouted to Huang Bo behind him, "Team Huang, I'll take you to the rooftop. Organize the rescue from above. I'll see if I can block the falling glass." "What?" Huang Bo exclaimed in shock. "Are you out of your mind? That's a glass curtain wall. You're going to block it with a helicopter?" The manual states that this helicopter structure is exceptionally sturdy. It could even withstand bullets. If it can endure that, surely it can handle a few pieces of glass. Chen Ji's eyes were filled with determination. Before Huang Bo could protest further, he maneuvered the bumblebee, rapidly ascending and securely delivering Huang Bo and the others to the rooftop of the Jinwei building. Immediately, amidst the astonished gazes of everyone, the yellow flying bread van charged unflinchingly toward the falling glass curtain walls. What was he doing? Did he intend to commit suicide? Insanity. This pilot must be out of his mind. Just as everyone believed the helicopter would be shattered into pieces, an astonishing spectacle occurred. The bumblebee, in midair, suddenly began to perform a series of extraordinarily difficult aerial maneuvers, akin to a weightless leaf caught in the wind. With a swift lateral shift, it used its robust fuselage to collide precisely with one falling piece of glass. Then, with a daring and spine-tingling aerial backflip, it shattered another massive glass wall into countless flying fragments. Bang, bang, bang. The crisp sounds of impact resonated continuously through the bumblebee's miraculous actions. Those once lethal glass fragments were preemptively shattered in midair, reducing them to innumerable small shards. Although these shards would still fall, they would merely cause minor cuts, avoiding the severe consequences of severed limbs or loss of life. The onlookers below were left in stunned silence. Incredible, my dear mother. Chapter 117. A tribute to the self-sacrificing pilot. Having neutralized the threat from the falling glass curtain walls, Chen Ji piloted the helicopter back to the height of the 64th floor, preparing to continue assisting Huang Bo and the others on the rooftop with firefighting and rescue efforts. Due to prolonged exposure to high temperatures, the internal structure of the 64th floor had suffered significant damage. Inside the fire scene, a massive commercial safe, originally secured to the wall, became dislodged due to melted anchoring points and, in a violent internal explosion, was propelled from the shattered window like a cannonball. This heavy iron mass, weighing several hundred kilograms, struck the hovering bumblebee directly. Clang! A thunderous sound erupted. The safe crashed into the main rotor blades of the helicopter. The blades, made from specialized composite materials and meant to be exceptionally durable, were instantly ripped apart, creating a gaping hole and breaking off at the root under such a terrifying impact. Creak! With a crucial rotor blade lost, the helicopter immediately lost balance. The entire fuselage began to tilt and shake violently, like a candle flickering in the wind, uncontrollably plummeting toward the ground. Run. The helicopter is going to crash. The crowd, which had just been cheering for the pilot's miraculous skills, was now engulfed in panic, screaming in fear as they scattered in all directions. In the live broadcast, all comments and messages vanished in that instant. Every viewer's eyes widened, fixated on the screen, their hearts skipping a beat. It was over. This was not a movie. This was a real-life broadcast. If the helicopter crashed, the pilot would undoubtedly perish. It was truly over now. A deep sense of despair surged within everyone. Yet, at that critical moment, they witnessed the rapidly descending, completely uncontrollable helicopter. Its pilot was still desperately attempting to regain control. Rather than opting for a parachute escape, he exerted every ounce of strength to adjust the helicopter's trajectory, striving to steer it away from the densely packed crowd and vehicles below, aiming toward the tranquil lake in the nearby park. Seeing this scene, everyone fell silent. Both the crowd on-site and the viewers in front of their screens found their eyes brimming with tears. Within the confines of the helicopter's cockpit, a piercing alarm reverberated through the air. Chen Ji's forehead had been violently struck, oozing blood, yet he seemed impervious to the pain. Clenching the now unresponsive control stick with unwavering resolve, he directed his final transmission over the radio, summoning every last ounce of strength. Tianjin Fire Headquarters. This is Helicopter 9G Modified. This is Helicopter 9G Modified. His voice, strained and hoarse from oxygen deprivation and immense pressure, punctuated the air. Pilot Chen Ji is making a final effort. Please rest assured, organization, I shall not betray the hopes of the nation and its people. With that, he resolutely terminated the transmission, no longer willing to squander any remaining energy. Boom. Following a colossal splash, Helicopter 9G Modified plummeted into the icy depths of the lake. In an instant, it was consumed by the water's surface, leaving only a series of ripples that expanded outward. All was concluded. As the helicopter sank, an oppressive silence enveloped the scene. Everyone paused in their activities, The panicked crowds halted in unison. Journalists lowered their cameras, while the police and firefighters maintaining order stood at attention. Some silently removed their hats, others rose slowly from their seats, and some offered a solemn salute towards the lake, honoring the heroic pilot who, even at the brink of death, chose to sacrifice himself to safeguard the lives and property of the people. In the livestream, all banter and jest had vanished, with the comments coalescing into a single phrase: "Hero, may your journey be peaceful." Yet, just as despair enveloped everyone, an astonishing turn of events occurred. Splash! The tranquil surface of the lake erupted once more. The cockpit, which should have sunk to the lakebed, sprang forth like a toy propelled by springs, soaring into the air more than 10 meters high. Then, with a resounding boom, a massive red and white parachute unfurled above the cockpit. Suspended beneath the vast parachute, the diminutive cockpit swayed gently as it descended towards a safe landing spot on the ground. Is it possible? It's unharmed. The pilot is still alive. After traversing a tumultuous emotional landscape from despair to sorrow, and then to shock, everyone present and those watching on screen could no longer contain their overwhelming excitement, bursting into tears not of sorrow, but of joy. He has survived. He is alive. Splendid news. The hero is safe. Thunderous applause and cheers reverberated throughout the Tianwei building, echoing endlessly. Inside the Yunxiao auto repair shop, Yi Bai watched the familiar scene unfold on his phone, releasing a long sigh of relief. He felt immensely grateful that, during the design of the helicopter 9G Modified, he had taken the precaution of adding an independent automatic survival bouncing device beneath the cockpit, one that would activate upon contact with water or a fatal impact. This redundant design, originally intended as a contingency, had unexpectedly proven invaluable, saving a hero's life today. Once assured of the pilot's safety, Yi Bai had just ended the live stream when his phone rang, displaying Huang Bo's number. As soon as the call connected, Huang Bo's excited, somewhat incoherent voice burst forth from the receiver. "Boss Yi, Immortal Yi, I truly don't know how to express my gratitude. Your helicopter not only saved the Tianwei building, but also our entire Tianjing fire department." Yi Bai smiled, but before he could respond, Huang Bo continued eagerly. "Boss Yi, you mentioned wanting to establish a factory in the capital. I've already reported to the higher-ups. I found a prime location right by the 5th Ring Road. The land costs will be fully covered by us at Tianjing Fire Department. We have but one request." Huang Bo's tone turned exceedingly earnest. "We hope you can sell us 3 more helicopters. 3 firefighting helicopters like the 9G Modified." Upon hearing this, Yi Bai's gaze ignited with fervor. Selling 1 helicopter 9G Modified at a friendly price of 10 million to Huadu, then flipping it to Tianjing for 20 million. Now, Tianjing was proactively ordering 3 more. While it might not fetch the full 20 million, even at 10 million each, that still amounted to 30 million. This was truly a golden opportunity. Chapter 118. Did you turn the ambulance into an oversized bumper car? No problem. We can proceed with the order. Yi Bai suppressed his elation, maintaining a facade of calm. However, Director Huang, as you can see, I currently have other orders in hand. It may take some time before I can deliver these 3 helicopters. That's perfectly fine. We can wait as long as necessary. Huang Bo eagerly replied, fearing Yi Bai might change his mind. I'll send over a 9 million deposit right away. Does that work for you? Certainly. Shortly after hanging up, Yi Bai received a bank notification. He beheld the long string of numbers, grinning from ear to ear. Without lifting a finger, he had secured 9 million in cash, along with over 10 million in shock value. Earning this money felt easier than breathing. With this unexpected windfall, he could finally, without hesitation, give that dilapidated ambulance a complete overhaul. Total transformation. Soon, Yi Bai immersed himself once again in the experimental lab within his mind, retrieving the 3-dimensional model of the ambulance and investing the entire sum of over 10 million shock value without reservation. System, based on my current shock value, please match me with the most powerful ambulance modification plan. Command received. Generating optimal modification plan based on a budget of 12 million shock value. Plan matching successful. Total shock value consumed, 12,000,000. A brand new futuristic modification plan instantly unfolded before Yi Bai's eyes. All-terrain high-speed emergency vehicle modification plan. Core highlights of the upgrade modules are as follows. 1. Omnidirectional hydraulic shock absorber system, replacing traditional wheel suspension with 4 independent multi-link hydraulic arms. Each wheel is independently connected to 6 hydraulic dampers, absorbing 90 of impact during collisions. Each mechanical arm is equipped with an independent gyroscope and automatic reset system. If the vehicle tilts beyond 15 degrees, the AI-controlled dampers instantly pressurize and reset. while also adjusting height and angle in real time based on road conditions, allowing it to easily traverse obstacles and ascend steps. Additionally, a honeycomb energy-absorbing crash frame surrounds the vehicle, wrapped in a graphene cushioning layer that deflects impacts like a ping-pong ball, yet leaves the vehicle unscathed. Price: 3 million. Shock value. 2. Ejection and gliding system. Installing 4 high-power nitrogen ejection thrusters under the vehicle body. Pressing the boost button unleashes 5,000 N of thrust within 0.5 seconds, propelling the front of the vehicle upward at a 45-degree angle to 30 meters high. Simultaneously, foldable carbon fiber gliding wings are fitted on both sides of the roof. After ejection, the wings automatically unfold, allowing for gliding over a distance with a glide ratio of 14, meaning for every meter descended, it can glide 4 meters. With reverse thrust for cushioning before landing. Price: 3 million. Shock value. 3. Hybrid power engine system, featuring a new power layout. The front wheels are driven directly by 2 high-power hub motors, 300 W per wheel, accelerating from 0 to 100 km/h in 3.2 seconds, providing instantaneous power and precise control. The rear wheels are propelled by a reinforced turbocharged diesel engine, capable of explosive acceleration in high-speed mode, with a range of 800 meters, delivering enduring and robust power. 2 power modes can be seamlessly switched, balancing speed and endurance. Price: 7 million. The fourth innovation is the magnetic levitation emergency medical pod. The rear medical compartment is transformed into a fully independent levitating rescue chamber. The surgical table and medical equipment within are all mounted on a magnetic levitation base, utilizing onboard superconducting coils to counteract 90 of vibrations. Even if the vehicle rolls over, the acceleration inside the pod remains at a steady 0.2 g, akin to the stability of high-speed trains, and is stabilized by a precise gyroscopic locking system, allowing the rescue pod to rotate 360 degrees while always maintaining a level position. Regardless of external impacts or collisions, the internal emergency pod remains absolutely stable and level, providing a perfect mobile ICU for critically ill patients. Price: 7 million. Having determined the modification plan, Yibai immersed himself once again in the first phase laboratory, embarking on an exhaustive simulation study. As his understanding and mastery of this innovative scheme deepened, a progress bar on the system panel quietly advanced. First phase laboratory proficiency, 75. Tip: when proficiency reaches 100, shock value can be consumed to upgrade the laboratory to the second phase. Once Yibai felt he had comprehended every component and circuit of the ambulance, he exited the laboratory. He promptly placed orders for all necessary materials and equipment, then locked himself in the workshop for a 3-day vehicle assembly retreat. Cutting, assembling, debugging, programming. After 3 days, when the final screw was tightened, a new vehicle, imbued with a sense of science fiction and futurism, was born within the workshop of Yuntian Auto Repair. That morning, outside the auto repair shop, the sound of an engine roared. Xiao Yunshan assisted a middle-aged man in a blue and white striped hospital gown out of the vehicle. "Old Yang, I've told you. My nephew's craftsmanship is absolutely world-class. What is there to worry about? Look, he's still in a hospital gown. Just ran out from the hospital," Xiao Yunshan remarked helplessly. The man, named Yang Qingshui, despite a pale complexion, appeared energetic. Anxiously, he exclaimed, "How can I not be anxious? That is my old buddy. I need to see how it turned out for myself." As they entered the auto repair shop, they encountered Yibai emerging from the workshop. Xiao Yunshan quickly introduced them. Come, Yibai, this is the ace driver from the only top-tier hospital in Huadu, Master Yang Qingshui. Old Yang, this is my nephew Yibai." Yang Qingshui scrutinized Yibai, exclaiming, "Wow, Yi boss, you are indeed young and accomplished. Younger than I expected." However, while his words were courteous, his mind was preoccupied with his vehicle. After a brief exchange, he eagerly inquired, "Yi boss, how is my ambulance doing?" Xiao Yunshan felt a bit awkward. "Sorry, nephew. We came a day early. My old friend here is just too anxious." "It's fine. It's already been modified," Yibai smiled, gesturing towards the massive object covered by a tricolor cloth in the center of the workshop. He then nodded to Sun Ling, understanding the cue. Sun Ling stepped forward and dramatically pulled away the large tricolor cloth. When the true form of the ambulance was revealed, Yang Qingshui was momentarily stunned. Gazing at the uniquely designed vehicle, his mouth agape, he found himself at a loss for words. What on earth is this? The main body of the vehicle still faintly resembled an ambulance, but the rounded, cartoonish lines were perplexing. Furthermore, the thick, rubberized white bumpers encircling the vehicle resembled oversized swimming rings. Yang Qingshui rubbed his eyes, feeling his mind was struggling to comprehend the sight before him. To him, this so-called ambulance looked more like a Q-version bumper car from his granddaughter's mobile game, only on a larger scale. How could a perfectly good ambulance be transformed into this? Chapter 119. Are you out of your mind? Testing the ambulance with a 100-ton truck? Seeing Yang Qingshui's bewildered expression, Yi Bai remained unfazed. Master Yang, to be honest, part of my inspiration for this modification did indeed come from bumper cars, he admitted, patting the thick protective layers surrounding the vehicle. But rest assured, its shock absorption and impact resistance capabilities far exceed those of a bumper car. Yang Qingshui's lips twitched. If it weren't for his old friend Xiao Yunshan's presence, he might have erupted in anger right then and there. Suppressing his dissatisfaction, he pinched his nose and said, "All right then. Can you demonstrate it for us, you boss?" Of course, Yi Bai nodded, then instructed Sun Ling, "Go fetch your dad." "Fetch my dad." Sun Ling was somewhat surprised but complied. While waiting for Sun Jishui to arrive, Yang Qingshui and Xiao Yunshan engaged in small talk, though the atmosphere was somewhat awkward. Yang Qingshui had anticipated that Yi Bai would merely summon a regular private vehicle to simulate a collision and test the shock absorption. However, he was utterly unprepared for what transpired minutes later. Accompanied by a deep, powerful engine roar, Sun Jishui drove a monstrous 100-ton truck into the auto repair yard. Upon seeing this behemoth, Yang Qingshui was left dumbfounded, trembling as he pointed at the truck. "Old Xiao, Yi boss, what are you planning here?" Yi Bai chuckled. "Of course, we're using the 100-ton truck to test the ambulance's durability." A 100-ton truck? Yang Qingshui was flabbergasted. What vehicle could withstand the impact of a 100-ton truck? This was not a test. It was a direct path to ruin his ambulance. Yet, Xiao Yunshan remained calm, reassuring him, "Hey, old Yang, don't panic. Didn't I mention before? My kindergarten bus has survived being launched by a 100-ton truck. Your ambulance, having undergone even more extensive modifications, will surely withstand it." "No way. Absolutely not." Yang Qingshui vehemently shook his head, adamantly refusing. "What nonsense is this? A bus can survive being launched by a 100-ton truck? This is absurd." Seeing his disbelief, Xiao Yunshan turned to Yi Bai. "Nephew, tell him, if your ambulance gets hit by a 100-ton truck, it won't be damaged, right?" Yi Bai pondered for a moment and replied honestly, "The vehicle itself will be fine, and the occupants inside won't experience significant jolts. However, the ambulance will be propelled away, but it can land smoothly." Changing the topic, Yi Bai added, "Listen to that. Do you hear it?" Yang Qingshui's face was filled with indignation and anger. It was as if they weren't even pretending anymore. Xiao Yunshan quickly interjected, "If it can be propelled away and still land smoothly, isn't that sufficient?" Yet, Yang Qingshui remained resolute. "How can it be fine? It's being propelled away. The frame must be wrecked. The precision instruments inside will be shattered, and still land smoothly? Does this kid think we're 3 years old? No way. Absolutely not." Yang Qingshui reiterated his refusal, then pulled out his bank card and handed it to Yi Bai. "Mr. Yi, I will cover the expenses for this modification myself, so there's no need to trouble old Xiao. I appreciate his kind intentions, but as for the testing, I think it's better to forego it." "All right then." Upon hearing this, Yi Bai nodded, accepted the bank card, and subsequently announced a figure. A total of 3,600,000. What? Upon hearing this price, Yang Qingshui was immediately taken aback, his eyes wide as saucers. 3,600,000. Are you all conspiring to swindle me? He pointed at the uniquely designed bumper car, trembling with rage. "You expect me to pay 3,600,000 for this? Old Yang, don't be so agitated." Seeing this, Xiao Yunshan hurriedly stepped forward to restrain him, then pulled out his own card and handed it to Yi Bai. "Yi Bai, charge it to my card. I insisted that I will pay for this." There's no need for him to do so. We are old friends. Let us not ruin our harmony over money. However, Yang Qingshui forcefully pushed aside Xiao Yunshan's hand and returned his card, gritting his teeth as he said, "I will pay you every penny, not a cent less. But as for the testing, that is out of the question. I believe everything you say. Is that all right? Right now, I just want to drive my ambulance away." He only wished to leave this place of troubles as soon as possible, feeling that his heart condition might just be triggered by the antics of these two. What is this madness? His perfectly good ambulance had turned into a bumper car. It was fine when he arrived, but now he couldn't go back. He had thought old Xiao was reliable, only to find himself in this predicament. Observing Yang Qingshui's obstinate demeanor, Xiao Yunshan and Yi Bai exchanged glances, both recognizing a hint of helplessness in each other's eyes. Yet, they had no other recourse. Let it be for now. Once he drives the car, he will understand. Meanwhile, Sun Ling timidly inquired, "Boss, should we call my dad back now?" Yi Bai waved his hand and replied nonchalantly, "What is the rush? Since he is already here and the test is off, let us invite him over for some barbecue at noon. Sounds good, Baigu? Sun Ling smiled. On the other side, after reluctantly paying the exorbitant fee that pained him greatly, Yang Qingshui eagerly climbed into his brand-new bumper car. Although he was filled with disdain for the vehicle's appearance and price, once seated in the driver's cabin and experiencing the comfortable seats and high-tech dashboard, much of his resentment dissipated. As he started the vehicle, his phone suddenly rang urgently from his pocket. It was Zheng Dingfeng, the director of their emergency center. Hello? Old Yang, is your car modified yet? Can you head out now? On the other end, Zheng Dingfeng sounded unusually anxious. I'm ready for duty. Director, what is the matter? Yang Qingshui responded. That is wonderful. Zheng Dingfeng sighed in relief, then spoke rapidly. Listen closely, head straight to Mukun Street. There is a high school student who collapsed from heatstroke on the playground, severely dehydrated. Preliminary assessments suggest the possibility of heatstroke. The situation is critical. They must be taken to the hospital for emergency treatment immediately. All other ambulances at the hospital have been dispatched, and you are the only one available. Understood. I'm on my way. Hearing about the urgent task, Yang Qingshui instantly cast aside all previous frustrations and shifted into a state of readiness. He hung up the phone and quickly input Mukun Street into the vehicle's navigation system. The navigation indicated that, under normal traffic conditions from Yunxiao Auto Repair Shop, it would take exactly 10 minutes. Chapter 120. Receiving emergency call 120. But encountering a senior walking group, now in work mode, Yang Qingshui promptly dismissed his personal feelings. Skillfully gripping the steering wheel, he maneuvered the newly modified ambulance onto the road. As soon as he hit the road, he sensed a distinct difference. Although the exterior resembled a bumper car, the vehicle's stability was surprisingly excellent, regardless of whether the road was smooth or bumpy. The driving cabin remained unaffected by any jolts, as if gliding over a perfectly paved racetrack. Moreover, the high-tech steering wheel provided an exceptional tactile experience. With precise handling that responded flawlessly to his commands, it seemed that the 3,600,000 was not entirely a foolish expense. At least in terms of driving feel and shock absorption, it proved to be worthwhile. Familiar with the route, he swiftly veered off the main road, taking a shortcut towards Mukun Street. This was a narrow one-way street. Yang Qingshui adeptly activated the ambulance's siren and hazard lights, the blaring alarm echoing through the street. Without hesitation, he pressed the accelerator, driving against traffic towards his destination. To be honest, one of the reasons he chose to be an ambulance driver was indeed to save lives and accumulate virtue, but another reason was the thrill of driving fast and recklessly, skirting the edges of the rules without a care in the world. However, as he turned a corner and prepared to accelerate, the scene ahead left him utterly dumbfounded. A massive wave of elderly individuals appeared on the road ahead, all clad in matching white pants and red short sleeves. They marched in a perfectly synchronized formation, chanting slogans as they leisurely walked forward, effectively blocking the entire one-way street. Which community's walking group is this, exercising here? Yang Qingshui glanced at the navigation, his brow furrowing. If he had to take a detour, he would have to retrace his steps and circle back, which would take at least an additional 10 minutes. However, if he chose not to detour, he faced the crowd ahead, with sturdy metal railings on either side. If he forced his way through the railings, the vehicle might get stuck, and if a tire burst, it would be catastrophic. He had no choice but to frantically honk the horn while grabbing the vehicle's loudspeaker and shouting outside, "Make way, please. Ambulance on an emergency mission. Clear a path quickly." Yet, his pleas seemed to fall on deaf ears. The elderly group remained steadfast, marching in their original rhythm, seemingly oblivious to his voice. Growing increasingly anxious, Yang Qingshui seized the loudspeaker again, amplifying his voice. "Make way. Can't you hear me? I'm on an emergency mission. The lights are flashing. Make way." This time, he finally received a response. An older woman, presumably the leader, turned around and impatiently shouted back at him. "What are you shouting about? Can't you see we're exercising here? With over 200 of us, how can we let you through?" Yang Qingshui was at a loss for words. "I'm in an ambulance. I have a mission. Please, just let me through." Hearing the word please, the older woman straightened up and replied nonchalantly, "Just wait a moment for us to pass. It won't take long. Just 1 minute." What? Yang Qingshui was dumbfounded. He was driving an ambulance. What if something happened to one of our elderly gentlemen or ladies? You'd be in trouble too. We can't guarantee anyone's safety, the older woman added. Hearing this, Yang Qingshui felt his temper rising. "I'm on an emergency mission. This is a matter of life and death. Isn't it common sense to yield to an ambulance?" But it was evident that this group had no such awareness and completely failed to grasp the gravity of the situation. To them, Their exercise was far more important than a potentially endangered life. Yang Qingshui stared at the immovable crowd ahead, and then at the constantly ticking timer on the navigation. A wave of profound despair washed over him. This is it. It's over. Because of this group of people, the student suffering from heat stroke is likely to miss the golden opportunity for rescue. Just as he was consumed by anxiety and at a loss, a crisp, emotionless electronic female voice suddenly resonated from the car's central control screen. Ding. Severe traffic congestion detected. Would you like to activate flight mode? Flight mode? Upon hearing those words, Yang Qingshui could only laugh in exasperation. At such a critical moment, this faulty system was making a joke? Flight mode? What? Will it grant me peace from the internet or allow me to bury my head in the sand like an ostrich, oblivious to the chaos? Without a second thought, he reached out to press the large rejection button. However, perhaps due to his frenzied state or some twist of fate, his finger accidentally tapped the adjacent confirmation option. Command confirmed. Activating flight mode. Please fasten your seatbelt and remain safe. Immediately, the entire cabin erupted with a piercing alarm. Warning. Warning. Flight mode will be activated. Countdown 3, 2, 1. Yang Qingshui's heart raced as if it might leap from his throat, gripping the steering wheel tightly, uncertain of what this so-called flight mode entailed. The next moment, boom, an indescribable force surged from the vehicle's underside. Yang Qingshui felt as though he were seated atop a lit rocket, the immense power pinning him to the seat. He barely had time to think before an involuntary scream erupted from his lips, piercing the heavens. What the hell? In the midst of his screams, this seemingly cumbersome bumper car truly took off from the ground. It shot upward like a cannonball, soaring several meters into the air, and then, two sci-fi-inspired carbon fiber wings unfolded from either side of the roof. The nitrogen nozzles at the rear belched forth blue flames, propelling the entire vehicle forward with a sudden burst. Whoosh! Under the astonished gaze of the onlookers below, this ambulance glided gracefully in a parabolic arc above their heads. It then landed smoothly on the vacant road ahead. The entire sequence was fluid and astonishing. Inside the cabin, Yang Qingshui remained frozen in a scream, staring blankly at the empty road ahead, then glancing back through the rearview mirror at the group of elderly onlookers, who were now completely petrified. It flew over? Just like that. This is an ambulance? Even a bumper car couldn't possibly possess such capabilities. Is this reasonable? Is it even plausible? Chapter 121. Preemptively rescued? Can 120 still snatch the order? Yang Qingshui remained in a daze for several seconds, struggling to comprehend the extraordinary shock that had just transpired. Subconsciously, he pinched himself. The sharp pain confirmed that everything that had just occurred was no mere dream. Behind him, the once boisterous group of onlookers was equally astonished. They had ceased their walking, gathering around him with expressions of disbelief. Hey, how did your car just fly over? That's incredible. I've never seen a flying car in my entire life. However, amidst the astonishment, some dissonant voices began to emerge. The leading woman, arms akimbo, chastised him with a frown. Hey, isn't your flying car a tad too dangerous? What if there's an operational error and it crashes down on us? Can you take responsibility for that? Hearing this, Yang Qingshui's previously quelled anger flared anew. Yet, he was too weary to engage in further pointless dialogue with these unreasonable individuals. Saving lives was paramount. He resolutely shouted at the control screen, "Activate flight mode again." Command received. Flight mode initiating. Boom. Accompanied by another intense thrust, the ambulance took off once more, swiftly distancing itself from the group of onlookers, then landing steadily, leaving behind a cloud of exhaust for the bewildered elderly. Having shaken off the entanglement, Yang Qingshui dared not linger for a moment longer, propelling himself with great speed towards his destination, Mukun Street. Thanks to the ambulance's superior performance, a journey that would typically take several minutes was completed in just over a minute. He slammed on the brakes, bringing the vehicle to a halt at the roadside, then hurriedly dashed towards the public swimming pool indicated by the navigation system, located at the end of the street. Where are the students suffering from heat stroke? He shouted as he burst into the pool area, addressing the swimmers playing within. The bystanders looked at him with bemusement. A staff member resting nearby replied, "Heat stroke victims? Oh, that one. They were taken away by the ambulance a while ago." What? Yang Qingshui was taken aback. Taken away? How come I didn't know? He quickly retrieved his phone and dialed Director Zheng Dingfeng. "Director, has another vehicle been dispatched to Mukun Street? I've arrived." And they said the person was taken by another ambulance. On the other end, Zheng Dingfeng was equally perplexed. "No, we only sent you one vehicle. There are no other ambulances." Upon hearing this, Yang Qingshui slapped his forehead. Oh no, what on earth is happening? Just as he was lost in thought, his phone rang again. This time it was his uncle, Xiao Yinshan. Hey, Lao Yang, where are you? Want to join us for some barbecue? We've already started grilling and are waiting for you. Xiao Yinshan's voice sounded relaxed. You just got out of the hospital, don't rush back to work. You need to recuperate. At that moment, Yang Qingshui had no desire for barbecue. Frustrated, he replied, what is there to eat? I've got a situation here. I just rushed to a rescue mission, only to find out the person has already been taken by another ambulance. Really? Xiao Yinshan was taken aback. Is that so? Well, it doesn't matter. The person has been taken, which is a good thing. Yang Qingshui waved his hand dismissively. He was more concerned about another matter. With a mix of shock, excitement, and disbelief, he said into the phone, Lao Xiao, the key is, how did your little nephew modify that car? It can actually fly. Unbelievable. On the other end, Xiao Yinshan chuckled with satisfaction. I told you before, but you didn't believe me. Now you do, right? Enough with the drama. Hurry over. We've saved you a spot for the barbecue, and we haven't even started eating yet. At that moment, Sun Ling's bright voice chimed in, Uncle Yang. Do you think the ambulance that took the student was fake? A counterfeit? Hearing this, Xiao Yinshan switched the phone to speaker mode. Yi Bai was equally taken aback. Ling. Why do you think that? Sun Ling's tone was uncertain. I'm just guessing. I read online that there are many human traffickers in Myanmar. They go to great lengths to deceive people. Is it possible that this ambulance is a disguise? Before she could finish, Yang Qingshui, as if struck by lightning, suddenly grasped the situation. He exclaimed, oh no. I understand. That must be a fake ambulance. They're after that student. We must catch them. The others were stunned by his revelation. A fake ambulance? Isn't that the work of human traffickers? Goodness. Have these traffickers become this audacious? They dare to impersonate medical personnel in broad daylight, driving a fake ambulance to abduct students? This is utterly outrageous. They must be apprehended. However, I currently have no idea which direction they have taken. Yang Qingshui sighed in despair, filled with regret and self-reproach. Do not panic. At this critical juncture, Yi Bai decisively took out his phone and dialed Su Ning's number directly. Officer Su, the situation is urgent. Yi Bai stated bluntly, speaking rapidly. I suspect that criminals are masquerading as an ambulance and have abducted a student suffering from heatstroke on Yukon Street. I request an immediate review of the surveillance footage for the relevant area. What? Su Ning immediately recognized the gravity of the situation upon hearing this. Wait there. She swiftly utilized her authority to retrieve the surveillance footage from the vicinity of Yukon Street. Soon, she made a significant discovery. Yi Bai, you were right. Su Ning's voice became extremely serious. The ambulance that left Yukon Street bears no identifiable markings of any hospital. Furthermore, its license plate, upon system comparison, is a counterfeit. This is definitely a fake ambulance. Where have they gone now? Yi Bai inquired. I am tracking them through the Skynet system. Su Ning responded as she operated her computer, found them. Their vehicle has already entered the highway, heading towards Gidu. I will report this to my superiors immediately. Dispatch the police at once. Simultaneously, I will contact the Gidu police to request their cooperation in the investigation. This time, even if it means pursuing them across great distances. We must capture this ruthless gang of traffickers. Chapter 122, The Long Chase of the Fake Ambulance. Capture the organ traffickers. After Su Ning reported the situation to the director of the Transportation Bureau, Lei Chuyang, he promptly informed his secretary, Jin Yang, who quickly issued the command. The entire Huadu Police Department sprang into action at once. Upon receiving the dispatch notice, Su Ning wasted no time and rushed to the police garage. With a thunderous roar of the engine, the Crimson Dragon Rider shot out of the police station like a bolt of red lightning, racing towards Gidu in pursuit. Meanwhile, upon learning of the traffickers' movements, Yang Qingshui was seething with anger. Without a second thought, he jumped into his ambulance, closely following suit. In the auto repair shop, Yi Bai glanced at the real-time location sent by Su Ning and still felt uneasy. Uncle, get your kindergarten school bus. We'll follow them too. All right. Xiao Yinshan had long been unable to contain his excitement. Witnessing everyone springing into action, Sun Jishui, who had just arrived with his heavy-duty truck, scratched his head and said to his daughter, Sun Ling, darling, let us join in the fun. Thus, an unusual scene unfolded on the highway from Huadu to Gidu. A fiery red super motorcycle led the way, followed closely by a uniquely designed bump car ambulance, a yellow kindergarten school bus, and a massive heavy-duty truck. At the same time, the Gidu Police Command Center received an alert from the Huadu Police regarding the traffickers who were driving a fake ambulance towards their jurisdiction. The Gidu Police took this matter seriously and decisively dispatched 3 modified heavy-duty police trucks, along with numerous police vehicles, to set up a trap at the highway entrance, ready to catch the criminals in the act. At that moment, In the speeding fake ambulance, two traffickers clad in white coats were reveling in their sinister achievement. Hee, brother. I never expected that simply passing by that school today would yield such a young victim, said the slender trafficker with pride. The teacher at that school was also a fool. Seeing our vehicle approach, he actively stopped us, insisting that someone was inside. And I simply went in to carry the person out without anyone suspecting a thing. The one referred to as brother, a heavier set man, sneered as he drove. What a pity that I don't know this kid's blood type, nor whether his organs will match the buyer's. But it doesn't matter, even if they don't match. Selling such a lively young man to Myanmar would still be a considerable windfall. Just as the two were basking in their arrogance, in the rear compartment, the previously unconscious high school student began to stir. Groggily opening his eyes, he surveyed the unfamiliar surroundings of the vehicle and the two strangers in white coats, and immediately sensed something was amiss. Who are you? Where's this? Wasn't I at school? He struggled to sit up, his voice filled with terror. Shut up. The slender trafficker's face twisted into a menacing expression upon seeing the student's panic. He turned around, covered the high school student's mouth, and mercilessly slapped him twice. If you make another sound, I will take your kidneys right now. Do you hear me? The high school student was stunned into silence. Blood trickling from the corner of his mouth, trembling in fear as he gazed at the menacing eyes of his captor, no longer daring to utter a sound. Only looking helplessly at the swiftly passing scenery outside the window. Brother, I can't hold it anymore. I need to urinate. The slender trafficker, having just slapped the student, suddenly clasped his legs together, a pained expression on his face. Just hold it. The heavy-set driver barked impatiently. Wait until we're off the highway. I can't hold it, brother. The slender one whined in agony, reaching for his belt as he had drunk too much water earlier. Don't you dare urinate in the vehicle. The heavier man frowned. It'll stink up the whole place. Simple. The slender trafficker grinned maliciously, glancing back at the terrified high school student. Just make him drink it. It's not like it will kill him. It might even be a great tonic. Hearing this, the high school student was instantly paralyzed with fear, overwhelmed by terror as his mind went blank, forgetting even to struggle. The heavier man, noticing this, let out an evil laugh, grabbing the high school student's hair and forcefully pressing his head against the wall of the vehicle. Kid, do you hear me? You better open your mouth obediently in a bit, and don't scream or shout. If you dare resist, I swear I'll cut off your little thing and turn you into a eunuch. The high school student trembled violently, his face ashen, lips quivering, unable to utter a single word. The slender trafficker smirked in triumph, just as he unfastened his pants to commit his heinous act. Bang! A tremendous crash resounded. The entire vehicle jolted violently, as if it had collided with a wall, the immense inertia sending all three occupants careening forward. The vehicle had come to a halt. Why have you stopped? The slender one scrambled to his feet, still shaken, and questioned the driver. Drive. I want to get away too. The heavier driver turned pale, desperately pressing the accelerator, the engine roaring loudly, yet the vehicle remained immobile. Look outside. I floored the gas, and the wheels are smoking. It's not working. Both men, in a state of panic, glanced towards the front of the vehicle. They beheld a strikingly vibrant police motorcycle, its sleek design exuding an air of authority, firmly pinning the front of their fake ambulance against the road. The motorcycle, although seemingly small, possessed immense power, rendering their multi-ton ambulance utterly incapable of moving an inch. Seeing this, the heavier driver immediately shifted into reverse, attempting to retreat. Yet, as soon as he pressed the gas pedal, thud. Another dull thud echoed from the rear of the vehicle. As he glanced into the rearview mirror, a yellow kindergarten bus adorned with whimsical cartoon patterns had silently nestled against the rear of his vehicle without him noticing. Damn it! The rotund man was utterly panic-stricken. He abruptly jerked the steering wheel, intending to switch to the right lane. However, as he turned his head, a colossal truck, resembling a prehistoric beast, thundered past him on the right side, accompanied by a howling wind. Terrified, he instinctively swerved left. Yet when he cast his gaze that way, despair engulfed him completely. Three similarly massive trucks had lined up in formation, like three moving hills, completely obstructing all his avenues of escape. In front were the police motorcycles. Behind was the kindergarten bus, and on both sides loomed the insurmountable giants of trucks. He was utterly cornered. Chapter 123. The crucial moment for the shock absorbers. Seeing no way out, the two previously arrogant human traffickers were suddenly ashen-faced with fear. The car door was yanked open from the outside, and Yi Bai was the first to charge in. Witnessing the scrawny man who had just moments ago sought to inflict harm and the beefy thug with a face full of flesh, Yi Bai's pent-up fury could no longer be contained. Without uttering a word, he lunged at the two, delivering a relentless flurry of left and right hooks. After pursuing them for so long, he was nearly driven to madness. If he didn't vent his anger now, it would be too late once they were incarcerated. Thud, thud, thud. The sound of fists striking flesh resonated, eliciting gasps of excitement from onlookers. Ah, stop, stop. We surrender. We were wrong. The traffickers, battered and bruised, curled up on the ground, pleading for mercy. Yi Bai pressed his foot onto the chest of the hefty man, a mocking smile creeping across his face. Now you wish to beg for mercy? It's too late. In Long Country, being a trafficker is a path to death. Let me tell you, it's fortunate you were caught on the highway. Had it been in a village, you wouldn't have made it out alive. Take them away. With a stern expression, Su Ning commanded, and several officers promptly moved in to cuff the half-conscious traffickers. Inside the vehicle, the rescued high school student exhibited a severely distressed demeanor. Not only was he weakened from heat stroke, but the inhumane ordeal he had just endured had left him utterly petrified, curled up in a corner, trembling in fear. Clearly, this experience had instilled a profound psychological trauma. Quick, get him to the ambulance. Yang Qingshui immediately stepped forward, preparing to provide aid. However, as everyone's attention was focused on the victim, the ostensibly unconscious hefty driver suddenly flashed a wild glint in his eyes. Seizing the moment when no one was watching, he abruptly pulled a lighter from his pocket and hurled it towards a pool of gasoline that had spilled from the earlier friction. Boom! A massive fireball erupted instantly. The tremendous shockwave knocked down a nearby firefighter operating a heavy truck. Flames engulfed half of his face, and a sharp shard from the explosion sliced open his major artery. Blood gushed forth like a fountain. Damn! Still daring to resist. Seeing this, Yi Bai was consumed by fury. He dashed forward and delivered a powerful kick to the hefty driver's head, rendering him unconscious. Without a moment to spare, he rushed to the injured firefighter's side, shouting, "Quick, get him in the ambulance too." Yang Qingshui hurriedly examined the injuries, his expression turning grave. "No, the artery is ruptured. He is losing blood too quickly. We must operate immediately, but it will take at least half an hour to reach the nearest hospital by car. I fear he won't survive that long. Time is of the essence. Half an hour is far too long." Yi Bai made a swift decision, determination flashing in his eyes. "Then let us activate the hybrid engine. We'll fly there. Listen, engage the flight mode for 5 minutes. That will cover the distance of at least 20 minutes. For the remaining 10 minutes, we'll land and drive straight there. 15 minutes, is that enough?" "That is sufficient," Yang Qingshui responded, hope rekindled in his eyes. Without delay, the team carefully lifted the two injured individuals into the back of the ambulance. "Hold on tight," Yi Bai commanded, and Yang Qingshui promptly activated the flight mode. Boom! The ambulance soared into the sky, tracing an arc over the congested traffic as it sped towards the nearest Waterport hospital. 5 minutes of thrilling flight, coupled with 10 minutes of lightning-fast ground travel, ultimately saw the ambulance, carrying 2 lives, arrive at the emergency department of Waterport Hospital in under 15 minutes. The medical staff, who had been waiting, immediately rushed forward and wheeled the 2 injured into the operating room. After an agonizingly long wait, the lights in the operating theater finally dimmed. A lead surgeon emerged, removing his mask, his face showing a hint of relief. "The patient has been stabilized. Thankfully, you brought him in time, and I must say, this ambulance is remarkable. The patient experienced minimal secondary injuries due to the smooth ride, which provided us with the most critical conditions for the surgery. Had we been delayed even a few minutes, or if the ride had been bumpier, the arterial bleeding could have worsened, and he might have died en route." Hearing this, Yang Qingshui was astounded. He realized that the true strength of this ambulance was not its ability to fly, but the magnetic levitation emergency chamber he had previously overlooked. The 3 million spent was truly worthwhile. The doctor, evidently intrigued by the ambulance, inquired curiously, "By the way, where did you acquire this ambulance? How much did it cost?" "We are considering procuring one for our hospital." Yi Bai, overhearing, chuckled and replied, "Not expensive, just 3 million. "What? 3 million? The doctor was taken aback, his mouth agape, ultimately shaking his head in resignation. 3 million is beyond our budget. Having confirmed that the patients were no longer in danger, Yi Bai and his team departed the hospital. Outside, Su Ning regarded Yi Bai with a complex smile. "You never fail to impress, Yi Bai. Every time I call you, it's always for a significant case." Yi Bai responded with a smile, "And you, Officer Su, are always decisive and efficient." They exchanged knowing smiles. Su Ning's gaze softened suddenly. "Now that this case is wrapped up, I should return to the capital for my semi-annual report. Until we meet again in the capital." "All right, see you in the capital," Yi Bai nodded. "By the way," Su Ning continued, recalling something, "since I'm from the capital, To express my gratitude for your immense support, I'll ensure you are well treated when you visit. I look forward to it, Yibai replied with a grin. In the capital, one cannot move without connections. Even with them, success isn't guaranteed. But having someone is certainly better than being alone. Just then, his phone buzzed again in his pocket. Chapter 124. Has the first-class merit been approved? Time to return home and modify Grandpa's car. Yibai glanced at his phone, noting the caller ID was Long Hantian. As soon as he answered, Long Hantian's hearty and resonant laughter boomed through the receiver. Ha! Brother Yibai, great news. Your application for first-class merit has been officially approved. I estimate that within 3 days, the commendation documents and medal will be delivered to you. Thank you, Brother Long. Yibai responded politely. Hey, no need for such formality. Long Hantian's tone shifted, taking on an air of mystery. By the way, my younger brother, I have another matter for which I seek your assistance. Before you return to the capital, do you have time to help us modify and upgrade a military vehicle? Fearing Yibai might decline, he quickly added, I know you can manage it. Money is certainly not an issue. Just tell me what you need. Upon hearing this, Yibai sighed helplessly. Brother Long, you overestimate me. I am merely an ordinary university student about to attend Qingbei. How can you expect me to handle military weaponry? Let's discuss this after I graduate. With that, he found an excuse and hung up. He merely wished to repair a car. Why did the military always want to pull him into military manufacturing? Later, bidding farewell to everyone, Yibai returned to the Yunxiao auto repair shop. In the stillness of the night, he sat alone in the office, contemplating his recent gains. Although the process of capturing human traffickers was thrilling, most of the credit went to the police and the ambulance, leaving him with little recognition. Consequently, the system's backend only reflected a meager increase of several thousand shock points, which was utterly insufficient for his upcoming plans. Glancing at his system balance, he found only 7 or 8 million shock points remaining. While he had accrued a fair amount of money, the crucial shock points were lacking. Without them, he could not conduct simulation research or generate proposals in the system laboratory. He needed to modify 2 more vehicles to achieve an upgrade. It was indeed a challenge to achieve anything without proper resources. In his moment of despair, a thought suddenly struck him. He recalled his grandfather, who lived in Ping Village. His grandfather was elderly and had difficulty walking, relying on a sluggish 4-wheeled vehicle for transportation. With his recent accolades and earnings, why not return home and help upgrade that old vehicle for his grandfather? Firstly, it would be a filial gesture, ensuring his grandfather could travel more conveniently and safely. Secondly, modifying the old vehicle would surely create quite a stir in the surrounding areas, thus earning him the shock points he needed. Moreover, he had deeper concerns. The commendation for first-class merit was imminent, a tremendous honor for an ordinary citizen. He feared that his grandfather, who had been a farmer all his life, might not be mentally prepared for such news. If he were overwhelmed with joy and excitement, it could lead to adverse health effects. He needed to return home first to prepare his grandfather for this news and also to check on him. With this resolve, Yibai no longer hesitated and promptly decided to return to his hometown, Ping Village. The next morning, he sought out Sun Ling Xiaoling. I'm planning to return to my hometown for a while. The shop will be closed for the next few days, so take a break and rest well, Yibai instructed. All right, Brother Bai, Sun Ling nodded obediently. After briefing Sun Ling, Yibai locked the shop's door. Rather than driving, he took the bus heading towards the township. The bus halted at the end of the asphalt road, leaving a winding mountain path stretching for 10 miles. Yibai inhaled the earthy scent mixed with the fragrance of grass, walking along the familiar path towards his childhood home. On both sides of the road lay vast rice fields, golden waves swaying in the breeze. In the distance, the undulating green mountains rose, wisps of smoke curling up from the villages at their feet. Ping Village remained unchanged. After a long walk, a solitary red brick house finally came into view. The house was quite modest, with walls bearing the wear of time, and the yard displayed some dried vegetables and farming tools. This was his home. As Yibai approached the courtyard gate, he heard a creaking sound growing closer. His grandfather, Yi Yunxiao, was driving his old red vehicle, approaching from the village road in a huff. Grandfather, Yibai greeted with a smile. Upon seeing his eldest grandson, Yi Yunxiao paused, surprise replacing his initial anger. However, still seemingly agitated, he parked the vehicle at the gate and sighed. My dear grandson, why didn't you let me know in advance that you were coming back? I had nothing prepared for you. I wanted to surprise you, Yibai said, helping his grandfather out of the vehicle. Curiously, he inquired, Grandfather, what has got you so upset? Who has angered you? As soon as the topic was mentioned, Yi Yunxiao's anger flared once more. He slapped his thigh and exclaimed indignantly, Don't mention it. I just encountered an insufferable bald monk at the temple over the mountain. I asked him which temple he was from. Guess what he said? Mercedes Temple. Then I asked how he arrived, and he said, I came riding on a crane, in a Maybach. Imitating the monk's tone, Yi Yunxiao's beard bristled with fury. I was left speechless. If it weren't for going to ask for a good fortune for your grandmother, I wouldn't even bother with him. And then, Yi Bai stifled his laughter, pressing on with curiosity. Then I asked him if making a wish with him was effective. He replied, S680. How would I know what an S680 is? Yi Yunxiao stomped his foot in frustration. I thought about going in to see if I could visit his temple, but guess what? He glanced at my old vehicle with disdain and slowly said, Amitabha, the Buddhist realm is a pure place. Only Ferraris are allowed in the courtyard. This was clearly a blatant insult to his old vehicle. At this point, Yi Bai could no longer hold back his laughter, erupting into fits of giggles while patting his grandfather on the back. Grandfather, don't be angry, and don't worry. It's just an old Maybach. Just wait. I'll modify your vehicle. I promise that once I'm done, your old vehicle will utterly outshine his Maybach. Chapter 125. The car for grandfather must be fully modified. You? Yi Yunxiao eyed his grandson skeptically. Do you possess such skills? You've barely touched a wrench. Yi Bai chuckled, straightening his posture with pride. Grandfather, not only have I inherited your Yunxiao auto repair shop, but I've also earned 2 first-class merits through vehicle modifications for our family. What merits? Yi Yunxiao was momentarily stunned, digging at his ears, unsure if he had misheard. First-class merit? 2 of them? You're not trying to fool me, are you? Do I look like I'm joking? Yi Bai replied, pulling out his phone and dialing Long Hantian's video call. The video connected swiftly, revealing Long Hantian's imposing face against the backdrop of a heavily guarded military compound. Officers in uniform were enjoying time with their families. Yi Yunxiao's gaze was immediately drawn to the shiny insignia on Long Hantian's shoulder, a golden wheat stalk and a gleaming star. A major general. Yi Yunxiao's eyes widened in astonishment. As if a switch had been flipped, he shot up from his chair, standing straight and offering a perfectly executed salute to the screen. Greetings, Commander. In the self-defense counterattack war, veteran Yi Yunxiao reported to his superior. Long Hantian was taken aback by this unexpected introduction, but quickly returned a military salute, respectfully saying, Hello, old squad leader. I didn't realize you were a veteran of the Vietnam counterattack. My apologies. Is there something you need to discuss with me? Yi Yunxiao's face flushed with excitement as he pointed at Yi Bai and, with a trembling voice, asked, Sir, I just wanted to inquire about my unaccomplished grandson. He claims to have received 2 first-class honors. Is this true? Long Hantian burst into hearty laughter. Old squad leader. This is absolutely true. Not only does he have 2 first-class honors, but when the time comes, I will personally go to Huadu to deliver them to his home. Upon receiving this affirmation, Yi Yunxiao's entire demeanor radiated joy, as if he had been rejuvenated by 20 years. After hanging up the phone, he grabbed Yi Bai's hand, overjoyed like a child, exclaiming, Wonderful. You, my dear boy, are far superior to your incompetent father. Our Yi family has struck gold. Yi Bai chuckled. It's all thanks to you, Grandpa. My father still doesn't know about my first-class honor. Humph. Yi Yunxiao scoffed. Don't even mention that unfilial son of mine. When I suggested he attend military school, he claimed I was ruining his life, insisting on pursuing business instead. A man who has never endured the trials of the military will forever remain a child, incapable of achieving greatness. Yi Bai blinked and reminded him. But, Grandpa, he is now quite a wealthy man, a billionaire. What of being a billionaire? Yi Yunxiao retorted with a fierce glare. Even if he were a trillionaire, it is worthless. Let me tell you, in our Dragon Kingdom, honor is paramount. Indeed. Yi Bai hastily nodded in agreement, fearing his grandfather's blood pressure might spike. You are absolutely right, Grandpa. Shall we start by modifying your vehicle? What do you think? I think that's a splendid idea, Yi Yunxiao affirmed. Without delay, Yi Bai set to work on the modification plan for his grandfather's old electric vehicle. Immersing himself in thought, he summoned the 3-dimensional model of the red electric car. System, provide me with the ultimate modification plan for this vehicle. I want the very best. Ding. Target vehicle, Zhang S 354-wheeled electric mobility vehicle. Detecting vehicle modification limits. Detection complete. The maximum modification value for this vehicle is 5 million shock points. Only 5 million? Yi Bai was somewhat surprised, but upon reflection, considering it was merely an old electric vehicle, achieving a 5 million limit was quite commendable. Let us proceed with the 5 million standard. Add everything possible, Yi Bai declared grandly. Power engine? Add it. The most powerful one. Protection devices? Add those too. The strongest. Flight mode? That must be included. In short, install all the best upgrades. My grandfather deserves nothing but the top configuration. Command received. Generating the ultimate modification plan for the Xianghong S250. Once the plan was generated, Yi Bai entered a 3-day period of dedicated transformation. He first dismantled the vehicle's fragile plastic shell and iron frame, replacing them with a lightweight yet sturdy titanium alloy skeleton and carbon fiber body. Most critically, he integrated advanced technological modules, miniaturizing and simplifying the ejection and gliding systems previously installed in an ambulance, cleverly incorporating them into the compact chassis of the electric vehicle. Additionally, for safety, he installed a military-grade 360-degree panoramic perception system and an active braking system. For 3 days, the sounds of clanging and the sparks from welding never ceased in the yard. After 3 days, as Yi Bai emerged from the garage, covered in grease, a brand new electric vehicle was unveiled. Upon receiving the news, Yi Yunxiao hurried over to inspect the vehicle. However, upon seeing the old electric car, he was momentarily stunned. It appeared almost unchanged, still that red exterior. Still those 4 small wheels, seemingly only a bit cleaner and newer, with no significant alterations. Grandson, Yi Yunxiao circled the vehicle twice, somewhat skeptical. Did you really modify this? Don't tell me you just polished it and expected to fool this old man. Yi Bai, exasperated and amused, replied, Grandpa, I spent over 300,000 on this. How could I possibly not have modified it? The classic design of your electric vehicle was simply flawless. There was hardly anything to change. Thus, I preserved its original appearance. But as for its performance, it's a world apart from before. Is that so? Yi Yunxiao, still doubtful, took his seat in the driver's position. You'll find out soon enough, Yi Bai added. Yi Yunxiao started the vehicle, slowly driving it around the village's narrow roads. As he drove, he indeed felt a difference. Firstly, the car started without a sound, eerily quiet. Yet, with a gentle press of the accelerator, it surged forward swiftly, the power responsive at his command. Moreover, the brakes had become extraordinarily sensitive. A mere tap would halt the vehicle smoothly, and pressing the accelerator again resulted in a seamless start, completely devoid of the previous stuttering sensation. A look of surprise spread across Yi Yunxiao's face. Well, I must admit, this is rather remarkable. As Yi Yunxiao reveled in the drive, the old electric vehicle approached the village's only intersection, where a sleek black Maybach, gleaming luxuriously in the sunlight, appeared from another road. Meeting them at the crossroads, the window slowly rolled down, revealing a man clad in a custom high-end monk robe, adorned with a large string of prayer beads around his neck. With a meticulously styled Mediterranean haircut, he was not entirely bald. Yi Yunxiao curiously looked over and recognized this was the abbot of the Mercedes Temple, the very person who had previously irritated him greatly. At that moment, the bald monk immediately recognized Yi Yunxiao and his distinctive red electric vehicle, smirking as he spoke in a condescending tone. Oh, old benefactor. Taking your grandson out for a stroll, I see. You have a grandson, huh? While his words seemed innocuous, the tone and expression dripped with disdain, implying disbelief that someone of his ilk could have descendants. Yi Yunxiao's expression darkened, and before he could respond, Yi Bai, seated in the passenger seat, was already furious. Casting a glance at the alluring beauty in ultra-short shorts seated beside the monk, Yi Bai coldly retorted, Old bald donkey, you're quite advanced in years, aren't you? Oh, right, I almost forgot to ask, do you have a grandson? Stung by the comment regarding his age, the monk's face turned livid. At that moment, the traffic light turned green. The monk, tired of the banter, pressed the accelerator decisively, the Maybach roaring to life. As he rolled up the window, he couldn't resist leaving behind a mocking remark. The world of the wealthy is beyond the comprehension of you impoverished commoners. Just follow behind and reflect on your poverty with Buddha. Who knows, if Buddha is in a good mood, he might even grant you a taste of my exhaust. With that, he smugly prepared to leave the old electric vehicle far behind. Yi Bai was taken aback. While it was true that poverty could breed ingenuity, such brazen arrogance toward strangers was utterly outrageous. Damn it! Yi Yunxiao, with a quick temper, could hardly tolerate such insolence. Infuriated by the monk's demeanor, I pressed the accelerator to the floor without a second thought. With a swift whoosh, the red old man's car shot forward like a projectile from an electromagnetic cannon, leaving a crimson streak in its wake. In the blink of an eye, it surged 3 to 4 meters ahead, leaving the newly launched Maybach nearly a full car length behind. The monk was left dumbfounded, staring in disbelief at the retreating old man's car. His worldview shattered in that instant. Was this truly an old man's car? How could it outpace his Maybach at the start? Before he could collect his thoughts, the black-clad beauty in the passenger seat expressed her discontent, frowning in disdain. Darling, is your car a counterfeit Maybach? It can't even start as quickly as that decrepit old man's vehicle. Fuming at her words, the monk was enraged, exclaiming, "My car costs 3 to 4 million. Imported. How could it possibly be slower than a dilapidated old man's car?" With that, he pressed the accelerator even deeper, the engine roaring as he finally caught up, matching the old man's speed. However, before he could unleash his taunts, the window of the old man's car rolled down. Yi Bai leaned out, a look of pity on his face as he addressed the monk. "Ah, what a pity. Our vehicle is electric, so there are no emissions for you to inhale. But don't worry, I have a delightful treat just for you." With that, he turned his backside towards the monk. A loud and prolonged fart wafted directly into the Maybach's window. In an instant, an indescribable stench permeated the entire cabin of the Maybach. The monk was momentarily dazed by the foul odor, nearly losing his breath and struggling to grip the steering wheel. The beauty in the passenger seat turned pale, shrieking, "It stinks. I can't take it. Stop the car. I want to get out." Frantically, the monk pulled over to the side of the road, and the beauty immediately flung open the door, leaving without a backward glance, cursing him as she departed. What a lunatic. Seeing the beauty slip away, the monk was infuriated. He rolled down his window and yelled at the old man's car ahead, "You little brat. You've ruined my chance." Yi Bai urged his grandfather to stop the car, chastising, "As a monk, you should be content with a life of simplicity and purity, not chasing after women. You're embarrassing the Buddha." The monk, struck at his core, was seething with rage. Noticing the gathering crowd drawn by the commotion, a sinister glint flashed in his eyes. He abruptly steered his Maybach directly towards the front of the old man's car. With a soft thud, the Maybach's front bumper failed to contact the old man's vehicle. Just as Yi Bai and Yi Yunxiao were puzzled, they witnessed the monk push open his door and, instead, ram his head into the old man's car. The impact produced a dull thud, and the monk let out a painful cry, then collapsed in the middle of the road, completely still, resembling a turtle on its back. Yi Bai was stunned. Yi Yunxiao was equally bewildered. Was this a professional con artist at work? At that moment, Yi Yunxiao, eager to emulate the monk's actions, prepared to step out of the car, intending to lie down on top of him to heighten the drama. "Grandfather." Yi Bai quickly grabbed him, advising, "Don't do this. It's embarrassing." Yi Yunxiao, confused, retorted, "Why are you stopping me? If we don't play along, he will definitely swindle us." "I have a plan, Grandpa," Yi Bai exclaimed, sweat trickling down his forehead. As the grandfather and grandson grappled, bystanders quickly gathered around, drawn to the sight of someone lying on the ground. "Oh no, has someone been crushed? Look, it was that red old man's car that hit him." Some even pulled out their phones to capture the moment. An enthusiastic woman squeezed through the crowd, glancing at the monk on the ground, then at Yi Yunxiao, inquiring, "Brother, what is going on here?" Seething with frustration, Yi Yunxiao pointed at the monk, declaring, "He is faking it. He is pretending to be unconscious." Faking it. The woman wasted no time in approaching the monk, delivering 2 sharp slaps to his face. "Look, if he were faking, he would surely react when I hit him, but he is completely unresponsive. This must be real." With that, she raised her voice, summoning all her strength to shout, "Help! Someone has been killed. Master Chun Biaolian of the Mercedes-Benz Temple has been hit. Someone stop the perpetrator from escaping." Her cry had a powerful effect, quickly drawing a throng of other women, many of whom were followers of Master Chun. Upon seeing their revered monk seemingly incapacitated, they were horrified, rushing towards Yi Yunxiao, demanding explanations, compensation, and apologies. In the chaos, the elderly Yi Yunxiao was shoved to the ground, witnessing his grandfather's fall. Yi Bai was bewildered, grappling with the surreal and illogical nature of the situation. Yet, this absurdity unfolded before him. "Everyone, stop this at once," Yi Bai thundered, his voice resonating like thunder. He pushed through the crowd, swiftly assisting his grandfather to his feet, then coldly surveyed the faces surrounding him. "At your age? Without understanding the situation, you resort to violence and slander." His booming voice momentarily quelled the previously aggressive women, who now appeared somewhat sheepish. Yet the woman who had first struck the monk quickly accused Yi Bai. "He is the grandson of the perpetrator. They're in cahoots. Keep an eye on him so he doesn't escape." Yi Bai could only chuckle in disbelief. Addressing the obstinate women, he remarked, "Why do you choose to believe in such a charlatan? I say he is pretending, and you refuse to believe me. Very well, today I shall prove it." With that, he approached the monk, squatting down beside him. He located the Zusanli acupoint on the monk's leg, then pinched it with all his might. An excruciating pain shot through the monk, making his body arch like a shrimp tossed into boiling water. Yet, he gritted his teeth, refusing to open his eyes or rise, only emitting a pained groan. The surrounding women exchanged glances, sensing something was amiss. If he were genuinely unconscious or deceased, he would not react to being pinched. Not convinced. Yi Bai sneered and grasped the monk's arm, finding the Shisanli acupoint, and applied pressure once more. Meanwhile, he called out to his grandfather, Grandpa, "Come over here," and pinch his other arm. Yi Yunxiao, already brimming with pent-up frustration, promptly joined in. The two of them relentlessly targeted the monk's pressure points. At last, the monk could no longer maintain his charade. The overwhelming pain penetrated his very bones, and he could no longer pretend. With a vigorous leap, he bolted several meters away. "Ah, stop pinching me. It hurts so much." Yi Bai released his grip, gestured to the surrounding antis, and shrugged his shoulders. Just look at his agile posture and swift movements. How could he resemble someone who had just been knocked unconscious? As his charade of feigning death fell apart, Chen Biaolian, maintaining his composure, pointed at Yi Bai and his grandfather, accusing them with a malicious twist of words. "You dare to argue. It was you who deliberately swerved into my vehicle. When I stepped out to confront you, you simply ran me over. This is outrageous." His words reignited the doubts of the previously wavering antis, who promptly rallied to his side, condemning Yi Bai. "Indeed, this is beyond excessive. It's not merely an accident. It's tantamount to attempted murder." Yi Bai found amusement in the situation. He pointed at his elderly grandfather and, addressing Chen Biaolian, remarked, "All right, if you insist that we hit you, then let us make it interesting. You drive my car and collide with me. If you manage to hit me, I will concede defeat. Even if you incapacitate me, I won't seek a single penny from you. What do you say?" Initially, Chen Biaolian contemplated refusal, but then reconsidered. This insolent brat had spoken so disrespectfully and was now audaciously inviting a crash. It was an opportunity too good to pass up. "Fine, you're on." Without delay, Chen Biaolian took the driver's seat of the elderly vehicle, pressed the accelerator, and was surprised to find the car responsive and swift. He turned the vehicle around, charging directly towards Yi Bai. Yet, something bizarre transpired. Just as the front of the car was about to collide with Yi Bai, it seemed to possess a mind of its own, steering away at the last moment, avoiding the impact. Unfazed, Chen Biaolian attempted several angles, but the outcome remained unchanged. The car would not strike anyone. Observing Chen Biaolian's expression of disbelief, Yi Bai crossed his arms and leisurely explained, "Save your efforts. My vehicle is equipped with the most advanced pedestrian collision avoidance system, and it operates under the highest permissions. There's no way to disable it." He glanced at his grandfather and surveyed the crowd, declaring, "This car was specially modified for my grandfather. As he is elderly and has poor eyesight, I installed this system to prevent any accidental collisions. Now you claim my grandfather hit you. Are you questioning the advanced technology of my vehicle?" Chen Biaolian was rendered speechless, sitting in the car with his mouth agape. The surrounding antis finally grasped the situation and demanded an explanation from him. With the truth laid bare and unable to refute it any longer, Chen Biaolian, in a fit of despair, dismounted the vehicle and plopped down on the ground. He then burst into tears, wailing as if he had suffered a grievous injustice. His tears proved remarkably effective. The antis, who had just been interrogating him, softened upon witnessing their esteemed Chen Biaolian so distraught, their sympathy overwhelming them. They not only ceased their inquiries, but turned to scold Yi Bai instead. "Look at you. You've made our Chen host cry." "Exactly. As a young man, can't you show a bit of leniency towards the elderly? Go comfort Chen Biaolian. Apologize to him, and let this matter rest." Yi Bai was utterly bewildered. Was he not the actual victim? How had the blame shifted onto him? Just as this farcical scene unfolded, a harmonious military band, accompanied by the sound of engines, approached from the village entrance. A convoy of military vehicles, followed by several black sedans, was making its way toward them. The village head, accompanying a leader disembarking from one of the cars, became irate upon seeing the road blocked. "What is going on here? Why are you all gathered? Quickly, move the vehicles aside. Don't obstruct the way. This is a procession honoring our village's hero with a first-class merit." Upon hearing this, the antis, instead of clearing the way, swarmed the leader, seizing the opportunity to voice their grievances. "Oh, great authority, you must take a stand for us. It is that young man. He is unyielding and has bullied our esteemed Chen host into tears." They pointed at Yi Bai, pleading with the leader. The village head, following their gaze, scrutinized Yi Bai and then broke into laughter. "Ladies, before you complain, perhaps you should inquire who this first-class merit is being awarded to today?" He gestured toward the innocent-looking Yi Bai and proclaimed, "It is being bestowed upon this very young man before you." The revelation plunged the scene into a stunned silence. The once boisterous antis were left speechless, their mouths agape, as if frozen in place. Meanwhile, Chen Biaolian, still seated on the ground feigning tears, abruptly stopped, looking at Yi Bai with an expression of utter disbelief. This unremarkable boy had received a first-class merit. No, this must be a mistake. A bewildered aunt whispered. The village head shot her a glare, retorting, no mistake. This merit plaque is to be ceremoniously presented at his doorstep, accompanied by drums and fanfare. Such a significant event could not possibly be erroneous. He then surveyed the now silent aunties and inquired, by the way, what were you just saying? Who was being unyielding? Who was bullying whom? The aunties, frightened and pale, began to retreat, hastily shaking their heads. Misunderstanding. It was all a misunderstanding. We saw things wrongly. The previously brazen bravado vanished without a trace. After all, this was a first-class hero, certified by the nation. Seizing the opportunity of this sudden shift in sentiment, Yi Bai swiftly moved forward, mimicking Chun Biao Yan's earlier antics, clutching the village head's leg and tearfully imploring, "Oh, great authority, you must intervene. This fraud of a monk attempted to extort us. He colluded with these aunties to slander us and even threatened us." The village head, taken aback by this display, quickly assisted Yi Bai to his feet, his demeanor shifting to one of concern. "Oh dear, my friend, please rise. We are all public servants, dedicated to serving the people." Once Yi Bai was reassured, the village head's expression darkened as he turned to glare at the still stunned Chun Biao. What audacity! How dare anyone attempt to extort? Especially from our first-class hero. This is utterly intolerable. He promptly retrieved his phone and dialed the local police chief. "Hello, Chief Wang. You need to come to Ping Village immediately." "Yes, right away. We have a fraudulent monk attempting extortion and colluding to deceive our first-class hero. This is a serious offense." After hanging up, he pointed at Chun Biao, coldly stating, "You don't think you can escape. You're going to have a little chat with the police." Having dealt with that matter, the village head turned back to the award procession, adopting a cheerful demeanor. "What are you waiting for? Continue the drums. Let us ensure this first-class merit plaque is delivered to our hero with all due pomp and circumstance." Boom boom clang. Boom boom clang. The resounding sound of gongs and drums once again echoed throughout the entire village of Ping. Under the gaze of all the villagers, Yi Bai, adorned with a large red flower on his chest, walked at the forefront of the procession alongside his grandfather, Yi Yunxiao. Observing his spirited grandson, Yi Yunxiao glanced back at the gleaming plaque of honor being held by two young soldiers, his eyes brimming with tears of excitement. As they walked, he wiped away the tears from the corners of his eyes with his rough hands, repeatedly murmuring, "My grandson has truly made something of himself. Even this useless old man has basked in his glory." The procession, filled with music and celebration, eventually arrived at the modest red brick house of the Yi family. Following the established protocol, a simple yet solemn awards ceremony commenced. The village secretary presided over the event, and leaders from the town delivered passionate speeches, extolling Yi Bai's contributions to the nation's defense and urging the village's youth to learn from Comrade Yi Bai. Subsequently, amidst the applause of all present, a military representative sent by Long Hantian solemnly placed a heavy, glistening first-class merit medal upon Yi Bai's chest. Flash, flash. The cameras clicked incessantly, immortalizing this glorious moment. Yi Bai, with the large red flower and the radiant medal adorning his chest, wore a proud smile as he posed for photographs with his grandfather, the village secretary, and various leaders. Once the ceremony concluded, the crowd gradually dispersed, and the once boisterous courtyard returned to a state of tranquility. Yi Bai carefully hung the golden plaque of honor in the most prominent position in the hall and meticulously stored the medal and certificate. After attending to these matters, he began to count all the items he had received. However, as he tallied them, he felt an unsettling discrepancy. It took him a while to realize, furrowing his brows. He addressed the village secretary. "Uncle, something doesn't add up. I remember Long Laoj telling me there were 2 first-class honors. But why is there only 1 plaque for the home of a first-class meritorious soldier? Where's the other one?" He gestured towards a square box wrapped in red cloth nearby. "And why is there an additional urn? Has there been a mistake?" "An urn?" The village secretary was taken aback by this revelation. He stepped forward, cautiously peeling back a corner of the red cloth, revealing an exquisite urn crafted from precious wood. The village secretary, bewildered, scratched his head and said, "I find this perplexing as well. When I went to the town to collect these items, I sensed something was amiss and even called the armed forces in the city. They assured me that everything was correct and instructed me to deliver these items to your home intact." Yi Bai was utterly speechless. What was going on? Receiving a first-class honor along with an urn? The more he pondered, the more he felt something was off. He immediately took out his phone and dialed Long Hantian once more. "Hello? Long Laoj. I received the meritorious honor, but is there a misunderstanding? There S1 plaque missing. But there S an urn instead? On the other end of the line, Long Hantian was equally confused. After a brief pause, he replied in a tone filled with bewilderment even greater than Yi Bai's. That is correct. There should be 2 first-class honors. What S with the urn? I was just about to deliver the first-class honor to your home, but it seems I haven't seen you around? Yi Bai was left in a state of utter confusion. What did he mean by not seeing him around? Was the urn conjured out of thin air? Something was definitely amiss, far too amiss. Just as Yi Bai was grappling with his thoughts, Long Hantian called back shortly after. This time, his tone was filled with regret. Brother Yi Bai, I sincerely apologize. I have just clarified the situation. Indeed, there was a minor error at the military district headquarters when issuing the documents, causing the addresses to be mixed up. He paused, his voice turning somber. That urn belongs to a border soldier named Zhang Jianfeng. Recently, during a border conflict with the neighboring country, he adhered strictly to orders not to fire the first shot. Unfortunately, he was tragically shot dead by an overly anxious soldier from the opposing side. Long Hantian's voice was laced with suppressed anger. To avenge this hero and defend our territorial sovereignty, the Western Military District promptly organized a military counterattack operation codenamed Thunder. Within just 24 hours, they reclaimed 16 regions that had long been illegally occupied by the neighboring country. However, he was an elite dispatch from our Southern Military District, so the assessment of the first-class honor ultimately falls under our jurisdiction. There were just some procedural oversights due to the inter-district transfer. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai felt an unprecedented shock resonate within him. The sacrifice of one individual had led to the reclamation of 16 lost territories. Such valor, such a noble sacrifice, truly warranted the title of hero. A single first-class honor? No. This monumental achievement deserved at least 2 first-class honors. Yet, a flicker of doubt arose within Yi Bai. How could such a prestigious establishment as the headquarters make such a basic error regarding the addresses? It seemed implausible. However, he refrained from delving deeper. All he wished was to do something for this unknown hero. General Long, where are you now? I would like to visit the family of the martyr. Yi Bai spoke earnestly. Long Hantian promptly provided an address, saying, We are in the neighboring Lushui village. Just come over. All right. After hanging up, Yi Bai turned to his grandfather, Yi Yunxiao, and said, Shall we visit Lushui village? Sure. I support that. I want to see what the descendants of heroes are like now. Without hesitation, Yi Yunxiao hopped into his newly modified super vehicle, taking Yi Bai towards Lushui village. Before long, they arrived at Lushui village. However, upon their approach, they were astounded by the scene before them. The entrance of Lushui village was teeming with people, the sound of gongs and drums resounding in a much grander display than that of Ping village. The procession for the first-class honor was a sea of black. With no fewer than 100 people, the villagers of Lushui had all come out to witness, their faces radiating a sense of pride and honor, engaging in lively discussions. Hey, did you hear? The old Zhang family has brought glory to their ancestors this time. Absolutely. They received 2 first-class honors. My goodness, what an accomplishment. The Zhang family has truly prospered. Hearing these conversations, Yi Yunxiao felt a surge of discontent, turning to Yi Bai and muttering, What old Zhang family? This is clearly our family's achievement. Yi Bai shook his head, his expression solemn. Grandfather, we cannot say that. I achieved my merit through a stroke of luck and technology, while they sacrificed their precious lives for this honor. The weight of these accomplishments is fundamentally different. Yi Yunxiao fell silent upon hearing this. Just then, they overheard the villagers continuing their discussions. Do you think this old gentleman Zhang has also been to the battlefield? Indeed. I heard from my grandfather that old Zhang was a hero who returned wounded from the anti-American war. He is 90 years old this year. Upon hearing these words, Yi Bai was utterly astonished. An anti-Eagle veteran? That was even more prestigious than his grandfather, who had participated in the self-defense counterattack. His grandfather was a retired soldier, and his father a martyr who served at the border, thus forming a family lineage steeped in loyalty and valor. In that moment, Yi Bai felt a profound respect for the Zhang family, whom he had never met. Accompanied by his grandfather, he navigated through the crowd of onlookers and soon encountered Long Hantian, who awaited them. Upon seeing Yi Bai, Long Hantian displayed a hint of remorse, saying, My young brother Yi Bai, I sincerely apologize for making you come here for nothing. If you wish for this first-class merit plaque, I can arrange for it to be delivered to Ping village immediately. Brother Long, let's discuss that later, Yi Bai replied, waving his hand. I would like to first meet the retired hero. Otherwise, my visit would be in vain. Very well, follow me. Long Hantian nodded and led them into the courtyard. In the center of the courtyard stood an elderly man, stooped and with a head full of white hair. Despite being 90 years old, his posture remained remarkably upright. He was Zhang Jianfeng's father, Zhang Songjun. The old man paid no heed to anyone in the courtyard. His gaze was fixed intently on the plaque honoring the first-class meritorious family outside the house, and then at the familiar military uniforms worn by Long Hantian and the others. He asked nothing and said nothing. Suddenly, this iron-willed man, who had withstood the barrage of gunfire, was overcome with emotion. Tears streamed down his weathered face as he stood in the courtyard, weeping like a child. His cries were heart-wrenching, filled with the profound sorrow of a white-haired man mourning the loss of those who should have outlived him. Everyone present, including Yi Bai and Long Hantian, bowed their heads in silence, comprehending and empathizing with the elderly man's grief. After all, which parent could remain dry-eyed at the loss of a child? Yi Bai stepped forward and gently supported the arm of the elderly Zhang Songjun, silently offering him solace. As he did so, he observed the surroundings. His heart sank further. This home was impoverished beyond measure. The walls, made of rammed earth, were riddled with cracks, threatening to collapse at any moment. The roof tiles were broken, suggesting that during the rains, the household would surely experience a deluge indoors. There was hardly any decent furniture within. The only valuable item seemed to be an old black and white television. Yet, from such a wretched household emerged one hero after another, dedicated to protecting the nation. Yi Bai felt a tumult of emotions. However, he also knew that with the honor of this first-class merit and the accompanying compensation, at least the elderly Zhang Songjuan's basic living conditions in his twilight years would be secured. As Zhang Songjuan's sobs gradually subsided, Yi Bai spoke softly, "Elder, please take care of your health. Your son, like you, is a great hero of our nation. The country will never neglect its heroes nor their families." Yet, Zhang Songjun merely shook his head slowly, tears still in his eyes, and spoke in a voice hoarse with sorrow. "Our generation has long since given everything to this country. We seek no reward, only that the nation becomes prosperous and the common people live in peace. I am already on the brink of death. Matters of security are no longer of any concern to me." His voice cracked with grief. "What weighs on my heart now is my granddaughter, Zhang Hongying. I only hope she can lead a good life." A flicker of guilt crossed the old man's murky eyes. She is only 17, still a child, and should not bear such immense burdens. Yet now, she must attend school during the day and work at a town job at night, all while caring for this frail old man who requires constant medical treatment. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai couldn't help but feel a pang of curiosity and asked, "Elder, what about your granddaughter's mother?" At the mention of his daughter-in-law, Zhang Songjuan's eyes clouded with sorrow once more. He sighed deeply, saying, "The year before last, there was a devastating pandemic. She was a nurse, among the first to volunteer for support in Hanqing. However, since she went, she has never returned." A heavy weight struck Yi Bai's heart, as if he had been dealt a grievous blow. His father perished defending the nation, his mother sacrificed herself fighting the pandemic, and his grandfather, a veteran, has been left with the scars of war. What a tragic and valorous family. In an instant, a thought flashed through Yi Bai's mind. If there were no other relatives in this family, what would become of Zhang Hongying after Zhang Songjuan's passing? Would she truly be left all alone in this world? With this realization, combined with the seemingly accidental misplacement of the merit plaque, Yi Bai began to piece together the truth. This was no mere oversight. It was a deliberate act. Long Hantian and the others intended to use this opportunity to entrust Zhang Hongying to him. This possibility was not far-fetched. After all, he had previously taken in Sun Ling, and those high-ranking officials, though eager to care for the girl, likely lacked the time and energy to do so personally. Moreover, being of a similar age to Zhang Hongying, he might connect with her on many levels. However, understanding all of this left Yi Bai with an indescribable discomfort. He was willing to help the descendants of heroes, but he detested the feeling of being orchestrated and manipulated. This manner of assistance did not sit well with him. At that moment, Long Hantian cleared his throat and approached, wearing a slightly embarrassed expression. "Young brother Yi Bai, shall we visit your granddaughter's school now?" He looked at Yi Bai earnestly and promised, "Rest assured, the honor that belongs to you will not be diminished. Once we conclude matters here, I will ensure you receive what is rightfully yours." "All right," Yi Bai nodded, saying little more. The group bid farewell to the grieving Zhang Songjun and departed from Lushui village, driving towards Huadu No. 7 Middle School. As they neared the school entrance, Yi Bai called Long Hantian aside to a secluded corner for a private conversation. "Brother Long," Yi Bai began directly, his gaze sharp and unwavering. "This incident today was not a mere mistake, was it?" Faced with Yi Bai's inquiry, Long Hantian no longer concealed the truth. He sighed deeply, revealing a complex expression on his face. "Ah, You're truly hard to deceive. You are correct. This was indeed a deliberate arrangement. This family is steeped in loyalty, yet they have ended up in such disarray. We, as soldiers, find it unbearable to witness. Long Hantian's voice carried a hint of helplessness. However, as military personnel, we cannot overstep our bounds and intrude excessively into local matters or the personal lives of heroes' families. Thus, we thought to use this opportunity to present you with a first-class honor and orchestrate a grand ceremony for the Zhang family. Thus, not only could we fulfill the lifelong wish of the venerable Zhang Songjun, allowing him to proudly bid farewell to his son, but we could also elevate the old Zhang family's standing in the village, ensuring that no one would dare to bully them or their orphans in the future. At this juncture, Long Hantian added a remark, seemingly to reassure Yi Bai, stating that arrangements had been made concerning the young girl named Zhang Hongying. If all goes as planned, Commander Peng of the Southern Military District has decided to personally adopt her. However, upon hearing this, Yi Bai's mind was suddenly engulfed in a haze. He exclaimed in astonishment, "What a turn of events!" It seemed that this blunder regarding the misattributed merit was, in fact, the idea of none other than the esteemed commander of the Southern Military District. He wished to adopt Zhang Hongying? How preposterous! In that instant, a thought surged within Yi Bai. Previously, he had felt aggrieved due to being schemed against, but now, upon learning that even the military district commander aimed to claim her, his discontent dissipated entirely. What a ridiculous notion! This was a descendant of unwavering loyalty. Her father had sacrificed his life defending the borders. Her mother had perished in the battle against the epidemic, and her grandfather had valiantly fought against oppression. What profound honor and glory did this entail? To adopt such a girl was not merely a noble deed. It was akin to acquiring a talisman, a towering tree that could shield the family. In a nation as steeped in honor and legacy as Longhua, anyone who dared to harm the descendants of martyrs would undoubtedly face universal condemnation and severe national repercussions. Moreover, he was presently in Huadu, in close proximity to her. What a serendipitous opportunity! How could he allow a distant military commander to seize it? Absolutely not. This young girl. Yi Bai was determined to claim her. With this resolve, Yi Bai's expression regained its tranquility. Subsequently, as Long Hantian changed into casual attire, they entered the campus of Huadu No. 7 High School. They approached the admissions office to inquire about a new student named Zhang Hongying. Zhang Hongying. Oh, I remember this student, the teacher said, checking the computer records. She just transferred this year and has performed admirably. She is currently in class 3 of the 3rd year. The teacher further mentioned that in preparation for the upcoming college entrance examination, the key classes in the 3rd year were conducting supplementary lessons throughout the summer vacation. Although Yi Bai felt a twinge of confusion regarding the propriety of summer classes, he brushed it aside, knowing that locating Zhang Hongying was of utmost importance. After expressing their gratitude, they proceeded directly to the 3rd floor classroom of class 3. However, the classroom was eerily empty. Glancing at his watch, Yi Bai noted that it was precisely noon, a time when students would undoubtedly be dining in the cafeteria. Let us head to the cafeteria to search for her, Yi Bai suggested, reassured by the presence of Zhang Hongying's photograph. Upon reaching the cafeteria, they found it bustling with students. Yi Bai and Long Hantian split up, meticulously searching through the throngs for the girl in the photograph. After an exhaustive search, Yi Bai finally spotted a girl dining alone in a secluded corner. She sat with her head bowed, quietly eating. She appeared even more delicate and refined than in her photograph, with an innate air of courage reflected in her features. Although clad in simple school attire, her posture was erect, and her demeanor exuded a quiet dignity that commanded respect without uttering a word. However, when Yi Bai's gaze fell upon her plate, his heart sank. There was no meat or vegetables, only a bowl of plain rice, soaked in hot water provided by the cafeteria, resembling a watery porridge. Beside the rice lay a small dish of what appeared to be wilted pickles. The so-called broth was merely a thin liquid with a few pieces of seaweed and random bits of egg floating on the surface. Witnessing this scene, Yi Bai felt an overwhelming surge of compassion. He swiftly approached, sitting across from her, and striving to soften his voice. "Excuse me, are you Zhang Hongying?" Startled by this sudden inquiry, the girl raised her head, cautiously observing Yi Bai and Long Hantian before giving a slight nod. "Yes, I am Zhang Hongying. Please, do not be alarmed." Yi Bai quickly pulled out a photograph taken with her grandfather, Zhang Songjun, during their time in Lushui village, and presented it to her. "We mean no harm. We are friends of your grandfather, and he sent us to find you. Look, this is a picture of us together." Seeing the photograph, Zhang Hongying's initial wariness began to wane, recognizing her grandfather's sorrowful visage alongside the two men. However, Her hands instinctively clutched her stainless steel bowl, as if reluctant to reveal the meager meal it contained. Yet, Yi Bai, seemingly oblivious to her subtle anxiety, reached out and took the bowl from her grasp. Once again confronted with the meager contents of her dish, he was struck by a sense of profound shock. Is this what you have for lunch? At your age? You need proper nutrition. Yi Bai could not help but inquire. Beside him, Long Hantian's expression darkened, his brows furrowing as he solemnly questioned, young student. Is there no financial assistance for impoverished students provided by the school? At this, Zhang Hongying's eyes dimmed, and she lowered her gaze, her voice barely above a whisper. I have applied many times, but our homeroom teacher said the class leaders needed it more than I do. What? Yi Bai was momentarily taken aback, incredulous at such illogical reasoning. Was it true that only class leaders were deemed worthy of applying for financial aid? Zhang Hongying fell silent, letting out a soft sigh. Her eyes filled with resignation. If only my father were here. He would be returning home in a few months. Upon hearing this, Yi Bai's eyes instantly welled with tears. Indeed, her father was due to return home soon. Yet, he would never come back. He had made the ultimate sacrifice for this nation, leaving behind only a handful of cold ashes and a medal earned through valor. Long Hantian's eyes, too, glistened with unshed tears, his fists clenched tightly at his sides, the knuckles turning white from the strain. As a soldier, he bore the responsibility of conveying this harsh truth to the martyr's family. Taking a deep breath, he prepared to speak. However, Yi Bai suddenly raised his hand, interposing it between Long Hantian and Zhang Hongying. With a radiant smile breaking across his face, he addressed the still bewildered Zhang Hongying in a light-hearted tone. Your father, he and this esteemed uncle behind me, are brothers who fought together in the trenches. This uncle is your father's commanding officer. We have come here today to share both good news and bad news with you. The good news is that your father, due to his exemplary bravery and outstanding performance, has recently been awarded a significant honor, first-class merit. The unfortunate news is that, due to his remarkable achievements, the military holds him in high regard and has decided to promote him, allowing him to remain in the unit as a squad leader. Consequently, his retirement will likely be postponed. Upon hearing this news, Zhang Hongying was initially taken aback, but soon her face illuminated with excitement and pride. Really? My father has been awarded first-class merit, and he will be a squad leader? However, her expression quickly shifted to one of disappointment, as this meant that the long-awaited reunion between father and daughter would be indefinitely delayed. Yi Bai observed her every emotion and continued to smile as he spoke. He added, moreover, your father is aware that he cannot return, and he knows you're alone here without anyone to look after you. Coincidentally, my father is also an old comrade of your father's. Thus, your father reached out to my father through the military, asking him to ensure I take good care of you during his absence. You wouldn't mind having me as your unofficial older brother, would you? The seamless flow of his fabrications was delivered with such naturalness and sincerity. On the side, Long Hantian was left utterly bewildered. He stared at Yi Bai, his mind racing with one thought. This kid is trying to snatch away Commander Peng's designated adopted daughter right in front of him. Long Hantian opened his mouth, about to expose this outrageous lie, when he felt a powerful grip on his arm, as if caught in an iron vice. Turning to look, he saw Yi Bai's eyes radiating a clear message. Dare to utter another word, and I will not hold back. Long Hantian thought to himself. Weren't you just complaining moments ago? This is absurd. Meanwhile, Zhang Hongying had been completely swept up in Yi Bai's words. She wiped away the tears of grievance from her eyes and glanced at Yi Bai's earnest smile. In a soft voice, she said, no, I don't mind. It's just that I have to take care of my grandfather. He suffers from ailments from his time in battle and needs regular medication. Yi Bai immediately patted his chest, taking on the responsibility with confidence. You need not worry about money at all. I have just one request. He looked intently into Zhang Hongying's eyes and stated earnestly, you must strive to gain admission to Tsinghua or Peking University, because I am about to attend, and I wish for us to be in the same place so that I can better look after you. Tsinghua or Peking University, Zhang Hongying exclaimed in surprise, not expecting that this seemingly similar-aged brother before her was a top student from such prestigious institutions. Instantly, the dimness in her malnourished eyes ignited with renewed hope as she nodded vigorously, declaring, I will work hard to achieve that. Excellent, Yi Bai replied with satisfaction. From this day forth, you are my sister. Upon hearing this, Zhang Hongying's cheeks flushed crimson. She shyly lowered her gaze, fidgeting with her clothing, and fell silent. Yi Bai did not press her further. He turned to the dining window and soon returned with a plate piled high with a sumptuous lunch, including chicken legs, braised pork, and various stir-fried dishes. He placed the tray before Zhang Hongying and smiled. Even if you don't acknowledge me as your brother right now, that's perfectly fine. We have all the time in the world for you to slowly accept it. Staring at the lavish meal, Zhang Hongying swallowed but shook her head, unwilling to eat. Yi Bai, unfazed, pretended to lift the entire plate to dump it into the nearby trash. If you want to eat, then I'll have to throw it away. I'm not hungry anyway. If you don't eat, it will just go to waste. Wait, Zhang Hongying exclaimed, panic rising as she quickly grasped his hand. I'll eat. I'll eat. Fearing he might genuinely dispose of the food in anger, she grabbed a shiny chicken leg, hesitated, then cautiously took a small bite. The long-missed savory flavor burst forth on her palate. Unable to contain herself, the pent-up hunger and grievance erupted at that moment, and she began to devour the meal voraciously. Her face and hands soon smeared with grease. Seeing her in this state, Yi Bai felt a pang of sympathy. He pulled out some tissues and gently handed them to her, saying softly, "Take your time, there's no one competing with you. Once you finish, I'll take you to see a great show." A great show? Zhang Hongying mumbled with her mouth full, confused about what Yi Bai meant, but knowing the food was simply delicious. Once Zhang Hongying finished her meal and Yi Bai ensured she was settled, he exited the cafeteria alongside Long Hantian. The moment they stepped out, Long Hantian could no longer hold back. He grabbed Yi Bai, lowering his voice urgently. "Yi Bai? What on earth are you trying to do? Why deceive her? Why insist on taking her as your sister? Am I not allowed to act out of kindness?" Yi Bai replied nonchalantly, freeing himself from Long Hantian's grasp. He declared resolutely, "From now on, Zhang Hongying is my sister. No one can change that." Long Hantian broke into a sweat at his words. Good heavens, how am I supposed to explain this to Commander Peng? This esteemed military district commander, who had difficulty finding compassion to adopt a martyr's orphan, has now been thwarted by an unexpected turn of events. If this news got out, would he still be able to keep his face intact? Not to mention the leader's reputation. Just as Long Hantian was in a fluster, Yi Bai's expression suddenly turned grave. He turned to face Long Hantian, his gaze intense as he asked, "General Long, let me pose one question to you. Is it right that a descendant of a heroic lineage, who sacrificed their life for our nation, cannot even apply for the basic poverty relief on our soil, and must survive on mere rice soaked in hot water and pickled vegetables?" Long Hantian was momentarily speechless. Then an overwhelming fury surged within him. This is an absolute disgrace to our country. He trembled with indignation. Once he regained composure, he waved his hand decisively, his eyes gleaming with determination. "I will take charge of this matter. I will report this incident in full to my superior, who is far away in Yuyuan Mountain. Let us see who dares to act so boldly. I will have him personally oversee this matter." With that, he retrieved a red encrypted phone and directly dialed a number. The call was quickly answered, and Long Hantian succinctly reported the events that transpired at Huadu No. 7 Middle School. On the other end of the line, an elderly yet authoritative voice responded, "I understand." Simultaneously, 1,000 miles away, in the office of the Guangdong Provincial Party Committee, the provincial secretary was engrossed in reviewing documents when the red phone on his desk suddenly rang urgently. Puzzled, he picked it up. The next moment, a voice he had never heard before but felt an overwhelming sense of authority and pressure from resonated through the receiver. "Who has caused the descendants of heroes to bleed and weep on our land?" The provincial secretary was left in stunned silence, confusion etched on his face. However, when his secretary, trembling, whispered in his ear that this was a direct line from Yuyuan Mountain, the gaze of this high-ranking official narrowed with alarm. Cold sweat instantly drenched his back, and every hair on his body stood on end. Chapter 133. You have devoured the cauliflower. Leave the purple egg for the principal. At the school gate, Yi Bai was softly conversing with Zhang Hongying. Long Hantian hung up the phone and approached, casting a glance outside, where a black Audi A6 was leisurely making its way towards them. A cold smile crept across his lips as he remarked to Yi Bai, "The show is about to begin." Upon hearing this, Yi Bai smiled in response, naturally taking Zhang Hongying's slightly chilly hand and gently saying, "Come, Hongying. Let me take you to see the spectacle." "What kind of spectacle is it?" Zhang Hongying asked softly, her curiosity piqued and a hint of unease creeping in as she was led by Yi Bai, uncertain of what they were discussing. Just then, the black Audi A6 came to a halt at the school entrance. The security guard, who had been dozing off in the booth, sprang to attention like a cat whose tail had been stepped on upon seeing the vehicle's license plate. He barely had time to put on his jacket before grabbing a phone and scurrying outside. Reaching the side of the Audi, he began to nod and bow while speaking into the phone, his face adorned with a fawning smile. However, the occupants of the car seemed unimpressed. Through the lowered window, the driver's stern reprimands echoed out, causing the guard's face to pale as he repeatedly affirmed their words. Only when a throng of formally attired school leaders and teachers hurried out from the administrative building did the guard muster the courage to press the button and raise the barrier. Leading the pack was a middle-aged man with a black mole by his upper lip. Zhang Hongying recognized him as the school's dean. In her memory, he always carried a distant and stern demeanor whenever he inspected their class, his face perpetually fixed in a frown. Yet today, he was bowing and scraping in front of the Audi A6, his face plastered with ingratiating smiles, an expression she had never before witnessed on him. Nevertheless, the Audi appeared indifferent to them, bypassing the group of school leaders without so much as a greeting and proceeding smoothly towards the principal's office. Soon, the entire Huaduno 7 high school became a flurry of activity. Countless teachers and staff rushed about the campus, their expressions tense. The students still lingering outside were hastily ushered back to their classrooms. Before long, Zhang Hongying observed teachers leading groups of students, all hurriedly making their way to the principal's office. The chosen students wore expressions of confusion and anxiety, while the teachers wore smiles of sycophancy. Yet it seemed that the prominent figure emerging from the Audi was not satisfied. Minutes later, those who had been ushered inside the principal's office emerged looking dejected, returning to their classrooms with downcast eyes. Zhang Hongying watched this chaotic and strange scene, her heart filled with bewilderment. What on earth was happening? All right, it is our turn to make an entrance. If we don't go in now, I fear the poor principal may never find peace today, Yibai remarked, eyeing the atmosphere of the building that had grown tense to the breaking point, a playful yet slightly irritated smile dancing on his lips. Instead of heading directly to the storm's eye, the principal's office, he led the still bewildered Zhang Hongying back to the cafeteria they had just left. Walking straight to the soup-serving window, in a bland tone, he addressed the visibly pale, trembling cafeteria lady. Hello. May I please have a bowl of seaweed and egg drop soup? Before long, a steaming bowl of soup, a stark contrast to the previous offerings, was cautiously presented. Yibai set the bowl firmly on the table before Zhang Hongying. She held the warm bowl in her hands, momentarily dazed. She realized that this bowl of soup was an entirely different affair from the countless others she had received before. The white porcelain bowl brimmed with generous portions of thick, vibrant seaweed and large clumps of golden egg, the broth merely serving as a backdrop. It was a far cry from the watery concoctions she had been accustomed to. At that moment, a middle-aged man with a slicked-back hairdo, dressed in a neatly pressed blue shirt and donning gold-rimmed glasses, approached their table unsteadily, his steps wavering as if in a dream. His complexion was paler than the wall, beads of cold sweat dotting his forehead. He stood before the table, his gaze fixated on Zhang Hongying, his voice trembling with palpable fear. Why, you must be Zhang Hongying, right? Though puzzled, Zhang Hongying nodded politely. Yes, that's me. The man's gaze slowly shifted from her face to the hearty bowl of seaweed and egg drop soup before her. His throat bobbed with difficulty as he asked, why you're having this for lunch? Zhang Hongying assumed he was concerned about her meal and replied honestly, well, usually I also get some free soup to soak my rice. And maybe a small dish of pickles. Sometimes, if there's no free soup or pickles, I just have a bowl of rice, soaking it in salted water. Noticing the man's expression approaching tears, she innocently offered, Uncle, would you like to try some? At her words, the last vestige of the man's composure shattered. He abruptly raised his hand and, with a resounding slap, struck himself hard across the face, the sharp sound reverberating through the empty cafeteria. Then, gazing at the soup with an expression of profound pain, regret, and despair, he lamented, you have already consumed the cauliflower. The purple egg shall be left for me. Zhang Hongying was left utterly perplexed. Cauliflower? She knew what it was, but what was the purple egg? Were there such things as purple eggs in this world? Before she could unravel the meaning behind his bizarre statement, a stern-looking leader in a black suit, who had remained silent until now, gestured dismissively to the side and barked in an emotionless, icy tone, take him away. As soon as the words left his lips, 2 police officers who had been waiting nearby moved in, one on each side, lifting the now limp and powerless middle-aged man as if he were a lifeless dog, dragging him out of the cafeteria. Chapter 134, Taking on New Business, Modifying Excavators. As the figure of the man was pulled away, the previously silent leader in black turned around. He replaced his cold, stern demeanor with a gentle expression and addressed the still-dazed Zhang Hongying. Dear student, do not be afraid. From tomorrow onwards, our Huaduno 7 High School will welcome a new principal. We will conduct a thorough and serious investigation and punishment regarding the corruption issues that exist within the school. Please believe that our country will absolutely not tolerate any violations of the legal rights of our heroes' families. Upon hearing this, Zhang Hongying was profoundly shaken. She suddenly realized that the man who had just been dragged away, weeping and wailing, was indeed the principal of her school. Reflecting back, she could see the resemblance to the figure she had glimpsed from a distance during the opening ceremony. Heavens! She cast a furtive glance at the young man beside her, who claimed to be her brother, Yi Bai, and a tumult of emotions surged within her. Who exactly was this new elder brother? How could he possess such extraordinary prowess? Merely by escorting her to the cafeteria for a meal, he had managed to have the principal of a high school taken away on the spot? After dealing with the principal, the official immediately turned to Long Hantian, offering an apologetic smile, cautiously inquiring, "General Long, are you satisfied with how we handled this matter?" However, Long Hantian merely shot him a cold glance, responding in a nonchalant tone, "You hold a higher position than I, being a provincial official. Why do you ask for my satisfaction?" He paused, his tone growing more serious. "I am from the military, while you are from the local government. It is best that we each perform our duties and focus on our own responsibilities." With that, he disregarded the awkwardly frozen official and turned to leave the school with Yi Bai and Zhang Hongying. Upon reaching the military vehicle parked at the school gate, Yi Bai said to Zhang Hongying, "Hongying, starting today, you should not remain at school. Return home and spend time with your grandfather. Once this summer vacation is over, I will arrange for you to attend high school in the capital." Zhang Hongying felt a mix of fear and excitement. The capital was a place she had only known through textbooks and her teachers. Was she really going to study there? As she contemplated this, Yi Bai took out his phone and transferred 20,000 yuan to her account, saying, "Take this money for you and your grandfather to buy some good food and new clothes. If it's not enough, just let me know." Seeing the extra numbers on her phone and feeling Yi Bai's undeniable care, tears welled up in Zhang Hongying's eyes. Biting her lip, she fought to hold back her tears. Throughout her life, apart from her father and grandfather, no one had ever treated her with such kindness. "All right, no more tears," Yi Bai said, ruffling her hair. "With your brother around, you will not suffer any grievances." Following this, Long Hantian arranged for a special vehicle to escort Zhang Hongying back to Lushui village. As the car slowly departed, only Yi Bai and Long Hantian remained in the spacious military vehicle, the atmosphere inside becoming somewhat silent. Ultimately, it was Long Hantian who broke the silence first. Leaning back in his seat, he regarded Yi Bai with a bemused expression. "Well, you certainly have some nerve. Stealing our Commander Peng's adopted daughter right in front of me. Personally, I have no objections, and I even admire your audacity. However, I must confess, it will be difficult to report back to Commander Peng. What do you intend to do about it?" Yi Bai replied with a knowing glance. A mischievous glimmer flickered across Long Hantian's face as he rubbed his hands together, grinning. "How about this? If you agree to help me modify a military vehicle, consider it an opportunity for me to make amends. I will find a way to explain things to Commander Peng. We can put this matter to rest. What do you say?" Hearing this, Yi Bai secretly chuckled to himself. This was precisely what he had been waiting for. He had just one last vehicle modification to complete before fulfilling his system upgrade task. Long Hantian had essentially presented the opportunity to him on a silver platter. However, he faced a challenge. His shock value was insufficient. After previously upgrading his grandfather's old vehicle, he had only 1 or 2 million left. Far from enough for a military-grade modification. "Fine, I agree," Yi Bai nodded. "But I have some matters to attend to first. I will visit your military district later." "Excellent. It's a deal," Long Hantian exclaimed with delight. After dropping Yi Bai off at the Yunshao auto repair shop, he left with satisfaction. Yi Bai returned to his office and immediately immersed himself in thought. He extracted the complete technical blueprints and production processes for the high-pressure pulse water-cutting firefighting machine gun, which had been developed during the first phase of the system, and organized it into a detailed document. Then, he called for Sun Ling, handing her the document. "Ling, take this technical information and connect with the manufacturers we previously collaborated with. Let's expedite the production of this product." "All right, Brother Bai." Sun Ling eagerly accepted the file and promptly set to work. Just as Sun Ling left, the yard of the repair shop echoed with the rumbling sound of an engine. A yellow excavator, caked in thick mud, slowly drove in and stopped at the center of the yard. A dark-skinned, robust driver jumped down from the cab, removed his hard hat, wiped the sweat from his brow, and shouted to Yi Bai, "Boss, can I get a car wash here?" Yi Bai's eyes lit up at the sight of the massive machine. A car wash. While washing, he could also modify the vehicle. This was a golden opportunity. He immediately approached with a smile. After negotiating a price with the driver, Xiao Gaoling, Yi Bai began a thorough inspection of the excavator. While washing the mud off with a high-pressure water gun, he quietly activated the system's scanning function in his mind. Ding! Conducting a comprehensive scan of the target vehicle. The Kessler X250 tracked hydraulic excavator. Scan complete. Severe safety hazards detected. Warning! The stress concentration point on the boom has developed numerous metal fatigue cracks. In subsequent high-intensity operations, it may lead to a sudden breakage of the boom, resulting in a serious accident. Scan results indicate this vehicle possesses significant upgrade potential and can be modified. Chapter 135. The small excavator stuck in mud. The large excavator comes to dig. After washing the machine, Yibai walked over to Qiu Gaolang, who was taking a smoke break nearby. Master, this excavator has been in service for several years, hasn't it? I noticed during my inspection that the boom seems to have some issues. Qiu Gaolang cast a dismissive glance at Yibai. Issues? What issues? This machine is perfectly fine. No, Yibai pointed to the stout metal boom. It appears that the metal at the connection point is fatigued, with many small cracks. I advise you not to use it for heavy work recently, especially not to lift anything too heavy, or I fear it might snap unexpectedly. Qiu Gaolang chuckled at that. Little brother, you're young and your eyesight must not be very good. Metal fatigue? This is an imported Kessler, sturdy as can be. How about this? Let us make a bet. You say it will break? Then show me it breaking. If it does break, I'll get it modified here. No matter the cost. But if it doesn't break, you have to wash this machine for free today? What do you say? Sure. Yibai nodded readily. Seeing him agree, Qiu Gaolang jumped back into the cab, expertly starting the excavator and driving towards a pile of discarded large truck tires in the corner of the yard. He skillfully maneuvered the excavator's boom, easily lifting one of the enormous tires. See, easy peasy. He then lifted a second tire, stacking the two together. Though the boom sank slightly, it remained stable. What did I tell you? There's nothing wrong. With that, he prepared to challenge a third tire. However, just as the bucket made contact with the third tire, the boom suddenly exerted force, attempting to lift all three tires at once. A sharp crack echoed through the air. The seemingly indestructible arm of the excavator unexpectedly broke at the joint with a resounding snap. Two enormous tires thundered to the ground. Qiu Gaolang, seated in the cab, was momentarily stunned. Did it really just break? Incredible. Young man, is your vision X-ray? How did you assess that so accurately? Qiu Gaolang exclaimed in astonishment. Yibai merely smiled faintly, dusting off his hands, and replied, I have repaired more vehicles than you have consumed salt. Taken aback, Qiu Gaolang was convinced and hurriedly pleaded. Brother, master, I implore you, you must help me fix it. I depend on this machine for my livelihood. Yibai responded nonchalantly, I can indeed repair it. And I can even upgrade it for you. Once modified, it will be sturdier and more durable than before. The price? A mere 300,000. What? 300,000. Qiu Gaolang was taken aback, feeling as if he might as well be robbing a bank. I charge what I charge for a reason. Yibai replied calmly. If you choose to modify it here, I can draft an agreement. If, after the modifications, your excavator cannot effortlessly lift a fully loaded 100-ton truck, not only will I refund the full amount, but I will also compensate you an additional 30,000. Lift a 100-ton truck? Qiu Gaolang thought Yibai was out of his mind. You can keep your outrageous claims. Just help me re-weld this arm. Suit yourself, Yibai shrugged, not wanting to pressure him. With abundant experience in modifications, fixing a single arm was a trivial task for him. Utilizing the existing equipment in the factory, he swiftly cut, polished, and welded the broken arm back together. The entire process was seamless and fluid. Just as Yibai was about to complete the repair, Qiu Gaolang received a phone call. He answered, and within moments, his expression turned anxious. What? The excavator is stuck in a mud pit? All right, I'll be right back. After hanging up, he turned to Yibai and said, Master, please hurry. I urgently need the machine. An excavator in my hometown has sunk into a mud pit, and they are waiting for me to help dig it out. Upon hearing this, Yibai's interest was piqued. An excavator stuck in a mud pit? That meant the engine's intake and exhaust pipes would surely be clogged with sludge. It was undoubtedly an excellent opportunity for another modification. He immediately quickened his pace, reinforcing the final touches while saying, All right, I'll accompany you to take a look. What do you want to go for? Qiu Gaolang asked suspiciously. Yibai wiped his hands and smiled. Since your arm has just broken, I'll go with you to provide timely after-sales service should anything else arise. After considering, Qiu Gaolang agreed, finding Yibai's reasoning sound. Soon, the arm was fully repaired. The two climbed aboard the yellow excavator and rumbled toward Qiu Gaolang's hometown. Upon arriving at the village, they spotted a crowd gathered near a mud pit. Indeed, an excavator was partially submerged. Strangely, beside the mud pit stood a significantly larger excavator, extending its massive arm to perform excavation work. Qiu Gaolang jumped out of the vehicle and found a middle-aged man anxiously watching from the crowd. Dad, what is going on? Didn't you say I should come help? Why have they already started digging? Qiu Ming sighed upon seeing him. Look at that big excavator. It belongs to the village chief's son. He is now working at Shugong Group and has made something of himself. As soon as he heard that Wang Fugui's excavator was stuck, he immediately drove back with their company's latest model. Clearly, he doesn't want to give us a chance to shine. Qiu Gaolang felt a surge of frustration. Wang Fugui, the richest man in their village, was also his employer. This was supposed to be his moment to shine, but it had been snatched away by the village chief's son, leaving him feeling utterly humiliated. Yi Bai watched the unfolding scene with a shake of his head, sensing a foreboding feeling. Such mud pits were most perilous when heavy objects were involved. A small excavator had sunk. The correct rescue method would be to use a slightly larger excavator on firm ground to pull it out, or employ multiple smaller excavators to collaborate from different angles. To attempt to use a much heavier excavator at the edge of the soft mud pit was tantamount to courting disaster. Just as this thought crossed his mind, a terrified scream erupted from the crowd. "Look out!" With that cry, everyone watched in horror as the ground beneath the giant excavator suddenly caved in. The massive machine tilted dangerously to one side, and, in a thunderous crash, followed the smaller excavator into the mud pit. This was a complete disaster. The village chief, witnessing his son's new excavator sinking, panicked and began frantically calling for help. Before long, spurred by the promise of money, 2 large excavators from a neighboring village arrived. The village chief pounded his chest, promising the new drivers, "I'll pay each of you 800 if you can get my son's excavator out." Having learned from the previous mishap, the new excavator operators were much more cautious. They decided against the reckless approach of directly trying to pull the overturned excavator out, opting instead for a safer, albeit more time-consuming method, to excavate the surrounding mud and create a rescue path. Yi Bai couldn't help but chuckle at the scene, turning to Qiu Gaolang and remarking, "Are they here to rescue the excavator or to start a construction project? Why are they digging a channel?" Qiu Gaolang remained silent, his embarrassment speaking volumes. Thus, a rather comical scene unfolded at the small mud pit at the village entrance. 2 large excavators labored like diligent ants, diligently clearing mud from the pit. However, the weather took a turn for the worse. Just as the channel was nearly halfway completed, the drivers decided to take a break for lunch. Little did they know, as soon as they left, a torrential downpour began unexpectedly. Large raindrops pelted down furiously. The rain quickly filled the freshly dug channel, saturating the already soft soil. The muddy pit became deeper, softer, and even more treacherous. When the rain finally ceased, and the 2 well-fed drivers returned to the scene, they were left dumbfounded. They discovered that their excavators, which they had foolishly left beside the mud pit, had also sunk halfway into the muck. The relentless revving of the engines only caused the tracks to spin wildly in place, leaving them utterly immobile. Yi Bai, witnessing this dramatic scene, could hardly contain his laughter, nearly bursting into fits of mirth. "My goodness, this is practically a real-life version of the gourd babies saving grandfather." One after another, they lined up to be rescued. In pursuit of an 800 yuan rescue fee, they ended up sacrificing an excavator worth hundreds of thousands. This transaction was a tremendous loss. At this moment, the village chief was in a state of utter frenzy, watching 4 excavators of varying sizes fall into the muddy quagmire like a row of dominoes. He felt his blood pressure surging and the world around him darkening. This was not merely a rescue mission for his son. It was a calamity that cost him his son and 3 excavators. If word got out, where would the village chief hide his face? With no other options, he reluctantly pulled out his almost crumpled phone, steeling himself to call for a more professional rescue team. As the instigator of this predicament, Wang Jiaqian, the son of the village's wealthiest man, Wang Fugui, stood helplessly to the side. After the village chief promised an outrageously high rescue fee, 3 large excavators soon arrived from a distance, marching in with great fanfare. In an unprecedented scene, 7 excavators gathered at the entrance of the small village, creating a spectacle akin to a miniature construction site inauguration ceremony. An unsuspecting villager, returning from the fields with a hoe over his shoulder, mistook the bustling activity for the initiation of a grand national project. Curiously approaching the worried village chief, he asked eagerly, "Hey, chief, are we embarking on a major project? Are we building a highway or an airport? Do you need workers? Can I come help and earn some extra cash?" This remark was the last straw for the already frazzled village chief. He whirled around, his eyes blazing with rage, and shouted at the innocent villager, "What are you talking about? We're rescuing people. This doesn't concern you. Get lost." Soon, the newly arrived excavators, after assessing the situation and conferring with a few veterans, decided against any frills and went straight to the hard work. They secured thick steel cables to one of the trapped excavators and, with a synchronized effort, attempted to pull it free from the mire in the simplest, most forceful manner. However, the excavator's tracks had become hopelessly ensnared in the slick, viscous mud, forming a massive vacuum seal. Despite the deafening roar of the engines and plumes of black smoke billowing from the exhaust, the trapped excavator remained stubbornly immobile. When brute force proved ineffective, they sought alternative solutions. Someone had the bright idea to bring thick steel plates, carefully laying them across the mud in an attempt to create a makeshift pathway, allowing the least submerged excavator to drive itself out. Yet, as soon as the excavator revved its engine, its heavy frame only pressed the precarious steel plates deeper into the mud. The tracks slipped uncontrollably on the smooth steel, failing to gain any traction, and it sank even further, extinguishing any hope of self-rescue. Shall we call in a crane? Someone timidly suggested from the crowd. A crane won't help. Wang Jiaqian vehemently countered. The mud is too tightly gripped. The suction beneath is terrifying. If a crane tries to pull it up, it might tear my excavator in half. In an instant, the group found themselves at an impasse, surrounded by what had become a graveyard for excavators, sighing and furrowing their brows in despair. The ground was littered with cigarette butts, yet they could not conceive a viable solution. Yi Bai quietly observed the beleaguered rescue experts, a smile creeping onto his face. It was time for him to step in. Just as everyone was at their wits' end, a youthful voice rang out clearly, "I have a solution." Everyone turned to see a strikingly handsome young man standing confidently in the crowd. It was Yi Bai. Gazing at the immobile excavators in the quagmire, he spoke with unwavering confidence. "All I need is to modify one excavator, nothing too large, just the medium-sized one over there. Once modified, all the excavators here can be effortlessly rescued." The crowd exchanged bewildered glances. Yi Bai was simply too young. "Are you joking?" Qiu Gaolang was the first to protest, incredulity etched on his face. "Look around. So many experienced workers and large excavators can't manage this. Who do you think you are?" However, before Qiu Gaolang could finish, Wang Jiaqian, who had remained silent until now, dashed to Yi Bai's side, desperation in his eyes. "I'll do it. Master, I'll handle it. I have another excavator at home that's just sitting idle. Just tell me how much." Yi Bai raised 3 fingers and casually stated, "Not much, just 300,000. Deal." Wang Jiaqian agreed without hesitation. The crowd was stunned. "What is happening? Jiaqian, have you lost your mind?" His father, Wang Fugui, the village's wealthiest man, quickly pulled him back, exclaiming, 300,000 to modify an excavator? Are you crazy? This young man looks hardly older than you. What real skills could he possibly possess?" "Dad," Wang Jiaqian replied excitedly in a hushed tone, "you don't understand. He is not just anyone. He is the renowned car modification king from the recent viral videos. You saw that video where he lifted a 10,000-ton ship with a small crane, right? That was his masterpiece." "What?" Wang Fugui was taken aback, staring incredulously at the seemingly ordinary young man before him. Though their conversation was quiet, the surrounding villagers caught wind of it, and excitement rippled through the crowd. "My goodness. He is the genius who modified the crane? I remember. My son showed me that video. It was incredible. So it's him. No wonder he dares to make such claims." The villagers' gazes shifted from skepticism to reverence. Yi Bai himself had not anticipated such a reaction. He had always thought his livestream modifications appealed only to a younger audience, lacking a solid rural following. Yet, he was astonished to find that his crane modifications and battles against nefarious forces had made waves even in these remote villages. At that moment, Qiu Gaolang, who had previously looked down on him, approached with a sycophantic smile, rubbing his hands together. "Master Yi, if you're modifying excavators, could you also help with mine? Money is no object." Yi Bai merely glanced at him, replying nonchalantly, "Next time, for sure." Initially, he had intended to modify Qiu Gaolang's vehicle. Regrettably, the opportunity has already been extended to the other party, and it is their own inadequacy that has led to this outcome. Upon witnessing Yi Bai's rejection, Qiu Gaolang's face was etched with regret, as if his insides were twisted in remorse. Meanwhile, Wang Jiaqian, fearing that Yi Bai might have a change of heart, immediately transferred a deposit of 300,000 on the spot. Once Yi Bai confirmed receipt, he, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, climbed aboard Qiu Gaolang's excavator, which had just been repaired, and drove it back to the Yunxiao Auto Repair Factory. As for the idle excavator at Wang Jiaqian's home, he had already instructed Wang Jiaqian to arrange for a tow truck to deliver it to the factory. Upon returning to the repair shop, Sun Ling immediately approached him to report on the progress of their work. "Brother Bai, regarding the firefighting machine gun you asked me to connect with, I have inquired with several manufacturers we have previously collaborated with, but they are all hesitant to produce it." Sun Ling's expression bore a hint of difficulty. "Hesitant to produce? Why?" Yi Bai inquired, somewhat taken aback. Sun Ling explained. They say the design of this firefighting gun bears minimal difference in basic structure and operational principle compared to a genuine machine gun. If they were to produce it privately, it would constitute an illegal act, and they would face legal repercussions. Yi Bai furrowed his brow at this revelation. This indeed posed a significant problem. After contemplating for a moment, he promptly dialed the phone number of Jin Yang, the secretary of the Huadu district. Jin Yang, currently acting on behalf of the secretary, was quite pleased to receive Yi Bai's call. However, upon learning that Yi Bai sought assistance in obtaining approval for the production of a firefighting machine gun, his demeanor shifted to one of difficulty. Brother Yi, it is not that I do not wish to help you, but as an acting secretary, my authority is quite limited. In matters such as this, I am truly powerless. Jin Yang continued with a wry smile over the phone. If Secretary Dakong were here, perhaps there would be a way. But he is currently studying in Jinghai, and I have no means to contact him. In a state of helplessness, Yi Bai turned his thoughts to Director Li of the Guadu Fire Department. However, while Director Li exhibited great interest in the firefighting apparatus, he lamented their lack of funds for production. Ultimately, Yi Bai placed his hopes on the Tianjin Fire Department. This time, he was met with a highly satisfactory response from Director Huang Bo. Not only did he graciously accept the collaborative project, but he also brought forth good news. Brother Yi, regarding the land matter you entrusted me with previously, there has been progress. The higher-ups have given preliminary approval, but to secure it formally, we will need at least $1.4 billion in acquisition funds. Unfortunately, this is beyond our capabilities at Tianjin Fire. Not a problem, Yi Bai exclaimed with elation. I will find a way to manage the finances. Director Huang, please assist me in securing the production qualifications. With this matter settled, Yi Bai promptly instructed Sun Ling to liaise with the Tianjin Fire Department for the specifics. Meanwhile, he immersed himself in the experimental lab within his mind. He gazed at the three-dimensional model of the excavator before him, beginning to draft a modification plan. The current shock value was down to a little over 2 million. This time, he resolved to go all in. Given that the modification requirement was to effortlessly lift an excavator mired in mud, traditional methods would undoubtedly fall short. Yi Bai conceived the most audacious and effective solution: to equip this excavator with an automatic transformation feature, allowing it to morph from a standard piece of construction machinery into a colossal humanoid mech. Only by taking on a humanoid form, with arms and legs, could it exert the utmost strength in the treacherous muddy environment. Chapter 138. Transforming your excavator into a transformer? Having finalized the transformation plan, Yi Bai immediately delved into research and development within the confines of his mental laboratory. He first composed the core transformation control module, responsible for coordinating all actions of the machine during its form switching. Next, he designed a brand new hydraulic power system, a high-strength alloy skeleton, and a multi-axis gyroscopic stabilization module to maintain the machine's balance. The progress bar of the laboratory upgrades steadily advanced, soon reaching the 90% threshold. Upon completing all design work, Yi Bai promptly ordered a substantial quantity of specialized alloy materials, high-precision servo motors, and various intricate electronic components based on the blueprints. As all components and equipment gradually arrived at the Yunshao Auto Repair Factory, a fervent modification and upgrade operation officially commenced. Yi Bai drove Wang Jiaqian's excavator into the modification workshop. He first dismantled the existing cabin and power system, then began to replace it with brand new devices according to the design plans, seamlessly integrating the high-strength alloy skeleton with the original chassis. Hundreds of high-precision servo motors were installed at various joints of the machine. The intricate wiring sprawled across the entire body like a neural network. Meanwhile, the newly installed power-packed engine functioned as the heart of the mech, providing an inexhaustible supply of strength. Once the final module was successfully installed, this transformed excavator was finally complete. Just then, Wang Fuguei arrived at the repair factory in his vehicle. Upon exiting, he hurriedly inquired, "Master Yi, has my machine been repaired?" "Indeed," Yi Bai responded as he emerged from the workshop, wiping his hands. Wang Fuguei gazed at the excavator, which appeared relatively unchanged from the outside, and unease crept into his voice as he questioned, "Can it truly lift a 50-ton excavator in one go?" Yi Bai was momentarily taken aback. 50 tons? How had it suddenly become 50 tons? Wang Fuguei, looking embarrassed and helpless, sighed and explained, Don't mention it. These past few days, I couldn't help myself and spent a fortune hiring a supposedly experienced excavator expert from the city. However, he ended up getting the 50-ton beast stuck as well." Yi Bai couldn't help but chuckle at this revelation. It truly was a case of the gored children rescuing their grandfather, each more determined than the last. He confidently patted the modified excavator beside him and assured Wang Fuguei, "Rest assured, Even a 100-ton behemoth, this machine can lift with ease. With that, he leaped into the cabin, driving the modified excavator alongside a somewhat skeptical Wang Fugui, and they made their way back to the village. Upon their arrival, Qiu Gaoling, who had previously looked at Yi Bai with admiration, scoffed upon seeing the excavator, which appeared almost unchanged from a few days prior. Oh, is this the miraculous vehicle that cost 300,000 to modify? It looks no different at all. I say, Master Yi, you wouldn't happen to be pulling a fast one, would you? Just swapping out a few parts and charging 300,000? Not only Qiu Gaoling, but the surrounding drivers, who were also disheartened by their own excavators being stuck, shook their heads in quiet resignation at the sight of Yi Bai's machine. As seasoned professionals, they could instantly tell that Yi Bai's modification amounted to nothing more than a 20-ton mid-sized excavator at best. Even with the 50-ton behemoth having succumbed, could this smaller machine possibly turn the tide? Even Wang Jiaqian, who had initially placed his faith in Yi Bai, now felt a twinge of anxiety. He leaned closer to the cabin and nervously asked, Master Yi, can you give me a definitive answer? Does this modified vehicle possess any remarkable capabilities? Upon hearing this, Yi Bai wore a mysterious smile, leaving a tantalizing hint, yet there was nothing extraordinary to speak of. However, in terms of humanoid characteristics, there was certainly an abundance. The crowd was utterly perplexed, failing to grasp the meaning behind his words. Yi Bai chose not to elaborate further. Instead, he sat in the cockpit and gently snapped his fingers. With a voice imbued with a youthful yet commanding intensity, he issued the command. Transform machine. The moment the words left his lips, the yellow excavator beneath him seemed to come alive, emitting a cacophony of mechanical sounds. The two tracks, which had been firmly grounded, began to fold upwards from the center, stretching and reshaping. The track structure swiftly reorganized under intricate mechanical movements, morphing into two robust, powerful steel legs. Simultaneously, the entire upper platform of the excavator began to elevate. What appeared to be an unremarkable excavator arm, after a dazzling display of flips and folds, transformed into a right arm brimming with explosive strength. The counterweight on the opposite side also extended and morphed into a slightly shorter, yet equally indomitable left arm. The cockpit, akin to the head of a mech, was securely positioned atop the torso. The entire transformation transpired in a mere matter of seconds, before the astonished eyes of all present. An ordinary construction excavator metamorphosed into a towering humanoid robot exceeding 6 meters in height, exuding an imposing presence reminiscent of science fiction. Goodness gracious! Is this truly a transforming robot? The crowd was awestruck, their mouths agape, eyes bulging in disbelief. Was it truly possible to achieve such a transformation for the price of 300,000? Just as the onlookers were lost in their astonishment, Yi Bai initiated his live stream. As the broadcast commenced, countless viewers flooded into the channel like a tidal wave. Upon witnessing the colossal yellow robot on screen, the chat exploded with excitement. Goodness, what am I witnessing? The host is incredible. Finally, someone has transformed a vehicle. This is phenomenal. Absolutely breathtaking. My mother asked why I'm watching the stream on my knees. I told her I'm witnessing a miracle. In this day and age, if transforming robots can exist, what is truly impossible? You never fail to deliver such explosive content, truly deserving of the title, the King of Vehicle Modifications. From now on, I shall only bow to you. As the viewers in the live stream celebrated the birth of the transforming robot, a voice of skepticism emerged from the crowd. Isn't this transformation rather slow? Compared to the robots in movies, this is clearly not on the same level. Can it even lift such a heavy excavator? In response to this remark, Yi Bai merely smiled faintly. Not only can it possess immense strength, but it can also dance a mechanical dance for everyone. With that, he pressed a few buttons on the control panel. In the blink of an eye, to the astonishment of all, the giant yellow robot began to move. Its arms executed a series of complex yet fluid motions, electric rhythms coursing from its arms to its torso and down to its legs. Each joint's rotation and the connection of every movement were imbued with a unique mechanical cadence and power, vibrant with rhythm. Goodness, a robot dancing? Host, you truly are a genius. Impressive. The coordination and fluidity are extraordinary. I declare, this excavator is the dance king of our village. The audience in the live stream was once again captivated by Yi Bai's astonishing display. The excavator operators around them were equally astonished, having never imagined that a piece of construction machinery could perform such lively and intricate movements. As the dance concluded, Yi Bai set aside his playful demeanor and prepared for serious business. Ladies and gentlemen, the entertainment is over. It is time for my true performance, he declared. He then maneuvered the humanoid mech, taking deliberate steps into the muddy pit. The enormous steel feet firmly pressed into the soft earth, showing no signs of sinking. The robot's massive arms transformed at the ends into colossal shovels, and it bent down, adopting a wild, yet highly efficient digging motion, furiously excavating the soil. The two oversized shovels flew up and down like high-speed turbines, swiftly tossing large amounts of sludge far away. Its efficiency surpassed that of an ordinary excavator by leaps and bounds. Soon, the mud surrounding the deeply embedded small excavator was entirely cleared away. One of the robot's hands grasped the small excavator's arm, while the other securely supported its chassis. Lift, E-Bike.